Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And gang, we've got a show for you today. We are joined by the lovely RebeccaRowan. I'll give her a chance to introduce herself in a moment. But before I do, check out my new subscriber button thingy. Follow the directions, gang. Do what that guy did. Hit that bell, hit that subscribe, hit that like button. We got a show. It's going to be call-ins today. So if you, yes you, dear viewer, have a problem with anything that I have said, or if you think that I've not covered something that I should be covering, or if I'm covering something too much that I shouldn't be covering as much, now's your chance, gang. Me and RebeccaRowan will take your calls. Rebecca, while I get the link and put it in chat, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, why we should listen to you, all that jazz. Go ahead.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Wick. Hey, everyone. I'm Rebecca. I am a parent, center-left liberal, Marine Corps veteran, and a trans woman who decided to start getting into politics online because, I don't know, my life was getting a little too chill and calm, and I wanted to make sure that I was maximally stressed at all times. And so getting into politics online right now is a really good way to do that. So I've been doing political writing for about close to a year. I write kind of broad pieces about how I think the big picture of politics is kind of shaping out, what's going to be happening, what things to watch out for. Recently, I've been kind of dipping my toes into making more short form videos and trying to find my niche. Not really sure what that's going to be, but I love politics, so here we go.
Well, we're happy to have you. Always nice to have a fellow veteran with me. You understand the life, I guess, though. You were Marines, right? Not my thing.
I was.
The Air Force, so a little bit of a different world there, but still.
I love it. Yeah, no, I ate a lot of crayons. That was our thing.
What was your favorite color?
Oh, I gotta say green. Green was my favorite.
You know, you'd think they taste like you'd think the red ones taste like strawberry, the purple ones taste like grape. That's not true at all. That's a mistake. Don't go in thinking that the flavors are going to match up with the colors. They do not, okay? Don't ask me how I know. Just know that that's true, okay?
Wick's right. He's absolutely right.
Okay, so we got a few things to discuss before we start taking your calls. And please jump backstage. The earlier you get backstage, the earlier you're going to get in. So today, if you guys don't know, inflation on the retailer side hit the highest it's been in 3 years, since February 2023. A guy from Project Liberal did a little segment on it, and we're going to pull that up just for a moment, and we'll get to it. Let me share my screen on here. Just click watch screen when this comes up. You got it? You ready? Following along?
Got it.
Okay, hopefully everyone can hear this. If you can't hear this, let me know.
Inflation just hit 4%, with the U.S. Producer Price Index at its highest level since February 2023. PPI measures wholesale prices, what producers pay before goods reach a store shelf. When PPI rises, consumer prices follow. This is inflation that just hasn't hit your grocery bill yet, but it will. Two forces are driving this. First, tariffs. The average effective U.S. tariff rate has risen from 2.5% before Trump's second term to over 11% today, the highest since 1943. Tariffs are taxes paid by American importers, and those costs get passed downstream to consumers. Second, the war in Iran. Gas prices have surged since the conflict began, with the national average now at above $4 a gallon. Diesel is approaching $6. These energy costs feed into the price of everything: shipping, agriculture, manufacturing, and food. The Trump administration is running a trade war and a shooting war simultaneously. American consumers are now paying for both, and the bill is just coming due.
So you may not feel it on your pocketbook yet, gang. You may not sense it at the grocery store or whatever, but it is coming. These costs will be passed down to you. Though, to be clear, for me, I don't know what area of the world you're in, Rowan, but for me, my grocery bill's been higher by like $20 to $50 every time I go. Also my gas, man, filling up my gas tank now, it's a few bucks higher every single day. And I don't know. What are your thoughts here on inflation, on the economy, on Trump? Give us your rundown.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah, my groceries have been super expensive too. I live in the Chicago area, so yeah, decent cost of living here. But yeah, groceries have been super expensive. Gas too. I drive an electric car, thank God. But my wife has a gas car, and she's been taking mine just because gas is so expensive. And I went to fill it up today. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is gas like $5 a gallon? Like, what is going on? So yeah, that's been really interesting. I don't know. I think we're just really seeing what happens when Trump is kind of left to his own devices. In his first term, he was kind of constrained, and he inherited such a good economy from Obama. And if he had just kind of sat back and done nothing when he came in this time, he'd probably have a great approval rating right now. But he staffed his cabinet with sycophants who let him do whatever he wants, and this fucked up economy is the result, right?
And here we are paying the price. The other thing that I wanted to touch on regarding Trump is, so I don't. Have you seen his kind of like fight with the Pope that he's got going on? Have you been following
I
that at all?
have. Unfortunately, I have. Yeah, it's so fucking ridiculous.
One of the statements that will live in, I think, infamy, and one of the top 5 tweets of all time, is that the Pope is weak on crime. Crazy thing to say for a variety of reasons, but there's been reports come out, right, that shows that when it comes to white collar crime, so fraud, embezzlement, things like that, Trump is the softest of all modern presidents. His DOJ has prosecuted the least amount of white collar crime. He, in fact, and it's worse than that. So it's not just that they're not prosecuting this kind of crime, that they're letting people get away with fraud, embezzlement, etc., stealing basically people's money. They're also, if they are found to be convicted of it, he's pardoning them at record rates. We got people like, let's see, Trevor Milton. He was convicted of securities and wire fraud. Trump pardoned him. Devin Archer, convicted for a $60 million bond scheme fraud against Native Americans. Pardoned. George Santos, you guys remember this guy? Republican congressman, convicted of wire fraud and identity theft and all that. He got pardoned too. There's a long list. Todd and Julie Chrisley, reality TV star, sentenced for bank fraud and tax evasion. Pardoned. Jason Galanis, commuted sentence for securities and investment advisor fraud. So not a pardon, but a commuted sentence, right? Michael Fiore, Nevada politician convicted of wire fraud, pardoned. Michael Grimm, New York representative convicted of tax fraud, pardoned, and the list goes on. It's a record number, gang, of people who are basically stealing your money, defrauding American citizens, and Trump's just letting them off the hook. It's insane. It's insane. So when people say that, like, the left is soft on crime, the left lets criminals just get away with it all the time, just point them to this. Like, when it comes to white-collar crime, Democrats are actually harder on prosecutions and on sentencing than it comes to the Trump administration specifically. That's crazy. Gang, why aren't you guys are letting me rant, but you should be calling in. Where are you guys at? Where are we today with that? Do we have no one that wants to yell at us? We got a guy. Okay, we got a guy.
Cool.
Hello, you're live.
Hello.
Hey, what do you got for us?
What a week, huh? I see.
Week indeed.
Yeah. I can't believe what Donald Trump is doing. It's so terrible with Iran. Like, oh, we're gonna, like, threaten to, like, destroy their civilization unless they accept a peace deal to a war that we started. And then we're going to make our own blockade.
Yeah, it's for those of you who don't know, so recently Trump
It's
has
idiocracy.
sure. Recently Trump has threatened, I don't know if he's put this into effect, to put a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. So any tanker or any ship that pays Iran for safety, right, to pass through the strait, the U.S. will stop them and interdict them and keep them from going forward. Kind of choking off people it's choking off commerce. It's insane. I don't know. So
Yeah, I
that's,
think we're
that's
seeing
just what he's
record.
referring to.
Yeah, I think we're seeing record ships coming into the Gulf of Mexico too to get oil since they can't go through Hormuz, right? That's
I'm not sure
we're
about
fucking
that.
up everything right now. Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
saw
it's also
something
like
come out about
different.
that today.
Yeah, it's also like different qualities of oil. But maybe this is Trump's master plan: drill, baby, drill.
Could be. Could be. What else you got for us today? Anything that you want to ask us
Yeah,
about? Anything
I
that you want
kind of
to...
wanted to talk about the psychology behind radicalization. The context was specifically Devin posted a new video about like some beef that he had with like some trans content creator in Sargon, and it got me thinking about, well, why would someone think, you know what, I'm gonna radicalize, I'm gonna hate centrists, I'm gonna hate liberals, they're evil, they're not far left enough, they're not far right enough. And I'm like, that's just fascinated me. Because you'd think, oh, well, these centrists, well, maybe we can, like, get them on our side if we're open to them. But no.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like when I fight on Twitter, I feel like I fight with leftists a lot more than even the MAGA people. I feel like they just do that meme where they're just kind of like resigned to everything right now. They're like, yeah, we know Trump sucks, whatever. We're not even going to bother. But yeah, I feel like the leftists. That's where I get a lot of pushback and a lot of I don't know, a lot more hate. I don't know what it is with just this, like you said, radicalization, the farther left you go, where it's like you just don't want anything to do with the center. You don't want to win people over. You don't want to, I don't know, build bridges. And then they wonder, like, why don't we get better candidates on the left? Why don't our candidates win? Why is everything happening? It's like, well, what do you think?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some stuff. Some people have talked about it. I'm trying to think of an example of, like, a thinker who talked about why they don't like centrists. But I think it's pretty much because, oh, well, they're evil, but they're less evil, which is still evil.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of get it, right? Because I don't know. I look back to how I was when I was like 18, right? And I went through boot camp and then I went to combat training, and I'm like super gung ho. I'm like, you know, it's either my way or the highway. I kind of know best. And you know, we're in combat training. We're like, oh yeah, we want to go like kill like all this stupid shit. And then you're kind of ass chewed out by people who've like been there and done that, and they're like, just shut the fuck up. You know, you don't need to be so radical. And then you go to college afterward. When I got out, I go to college and I still kind of have this mindset where I know everything. I'm like, I know so much more than you do. And I feel like it's just this function of youth almost, where, you know, it's so hard to have nuance when you don't have the lived experience to help you with that nuance. And so you get caught into this kind of all or nothing thinking, if that makes sense.
It's very easy for youth to kind of get radicalized. Like if you guys don't remember, the Nazism was a youth movement in Germany. That's how it started. It started at colleges. It started among young people, right? And they were upset. They were angry at the world, and it's very easy to kind of radicalize young people. There's a couple things that I want to touch on in this, and we're going to let you go because we got a bit of a line forming. When it comes to radicalization, what we're seeing now, and I think that it's playing out in the kind of, this is a fight we have on my channel a lot when Destiny comes on and things like that. It's this idea of reciprocal radicalization. So what's happening is that Trump is awful for a variety of reasons, and the left is looking at this. Democrats are looking at this, and they're like, you know what? They're so bad that we have to think about using more radical measures to combat them. We have to radicalize in order to go after these guys because they're so much. Now, on the other side of the coin, at the same time, you see people on the right looking at the left radicalizing, and they're like, wow, we got to do something too. We got to stop them. Look at what they're doing. Look at what they want to do to us. We have to radicalize to stop them. And so there's this kind of pushing away from moderation in both directions, where each side is using the worst extremes of the other to justify their bad behavior. And it's being pushed by accelerationists such as Hasan and his ilk, right? And people on the right are doing the same thing. They're working they work with each other, knowingly or not, in order to radicalize their various bases. What are your thoughts on that? And then we're going to let you go.
Well, I mean, I think what the Republicans are doing, the next Democratic president should do the exact same thing to MAGA. Nothing more.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing more. Only do what they have done.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for being here, man.
And if any Republicans are listening to this and call that like a threat, no, it's not. I say nothing more. Only what you have done to us.
Okay. Talk to you later, man. Okay. Wow. But yeah, it's a lot, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. One of my concerns is that people are going to lose hope. And when people lose hope, they will let the more dark angels of their nature kind of take over, and it just gets really bad. But that's my thoughts. Let's bring on the next contestant on whatever this is. And gang, if you want to call in, click the link, accept the rules. You'll see all the channels. Jump backstage, and we'll pull you in, okay? Hello, you're live.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying out push to talk. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey there.
So, one of the things that I was really interested in talking with you both about was what I sort of see as the rise of the new liberal movement. And,
Okay, well, just to start off, what do you mean the new liberal movement? What is that?
So, by new liberal movement, I mean very specifically, there is an organization called Center for New Liberals, and I think that there are a lot of I think that there are a lot of specific actors that are quite connected to Center for New Liberals that regularly engage with their events and their content, um, but in a more general sense. I think we can understand it as just general center left big
Okay.
tent type
So
personality.
people with similar, I guess, thoughts on how things should be are getting together and trying to advocate for what they want. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's largely what CNL posits their organization as, but um, I was hoping to ask you two if you're familiar with it or if you're noticing a rise in people representing that sort of middle ground ideology and sort of what the conversations are.
Sure. No, I get what you mean. So for my end, and I can't speak for Rebecca here, but I know I've heard the Center for New Liberalism before. I think that I know their founder was Jeremiah Johnson, I think is his name. I've seen him on Twitter. I'm not familiar enough with their organization to speak too much on that specifically, but there is, to kind of address your, like, have we seen people kind of advocate for more moderation? Yes, but that's because I'm specifically currently seeking it out, right? Like, I'm looking for it. I'm looking for people who share my thoughts, who share my ideals, who share how I think the world should be, and I'm trying to connect with them. So, yes, I have seen more, but that's because I'm looking for it. I couldn't tell you if that's naturally arising or not, but it is what it is. What are your thoughts, Rebecca?
Yeah. So, if I remember correctly from what I've seen from CNL before, they're pretty much like abundance liberals, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's a big part of the specific organization, but I was asking just about that sort of wave of people in general.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, I think it's a good thing. Part of the problem that I saw from the Democratic Party in the Obama era was we had made these really rapid cultural gains. And I feel like young people in general just got kind of, I don't know, complacent in thinking that, okay, progress is just kind of a given at this point. And so it almost felt like we ceded a lot of ideological ground to kind of the further left wing of our party, who are not really interested in actually advancing political power, gaining political power, wielding it. They like to talk about it, but they generally don't do the work of politics that's required. And so I'm actually loving seeing like this resurgence of like these really motivated liberals. Like, I mean, I don't know. I know centrist has like a really bad connotation with a lot of people, but most people live in the center. I mean, it's just the loudest people that are on the margins,
I
right?
prefer moderate. I'm not a centrist, right? And a lot of
Yeah,
people aren't a
yeah.
centrist. But I would say that on most things and in general, I am a moderate. I believe in incrementalism. I believe in using processes to solve issues. I believe in equality under the law. I believe in all these things, right? That I would consider like moderate beliefs, moderate ways of doing things. Um, but I think it's interesting you asked this because I think that's the fight right now in the Democratic Party. I think it's the fight between the radicals, like the Hasan side, I guess you'd say, and they got people pushing them hard, like Mehdi Hasan, like Pod Save America, like Kyle Kalinske, like Emma Vigeland, right? Like people who are pushing this radical way of doing things and saying Democrats need to get in line. The Democrats can't they can't meet the moment. They're not fit for the moment. So we need something new, something fresh. Moderation doesn't work. We need to go this way. And there's this whole system in place that is just pushing people like Hasan on the Democratic Party. So it's interesting you ask that because there's a fight right now, I would say, between the Democrats on whether or not they should go that way or they should go more moderate. What are your thoughts, dear caller?
I mean, I agree with a lot of the perspectives that you guys are sharing. From my point of view, I consider myself more of a moderate. The term I like to use is Lockheed liberal, but that's just me. Um,
Lockheed liberal, I like it. Okay, I've heard that
yeah,
before. No, it's a good one.
but I do think that that's a big conversation going on. I look at the absolute disaster of the governor campaign in Virginia, not with Spamberger, but the previous one, where the Republican governor was able to galvanize on some really brutal press regarding activists and just like you said, I think everybody who's like terminally online is aware of the Hassan drama right now, and there seems that there's always this conversation of this like big horde of leftists that are waiting in the hills that are waiting to come run down and vote for the leftist candidate once they are on the ballot after Bernie Sanders gets kicked out or something. I feel like we had the whole conversation that was, but Bernie Sanders can still win the primary. He still has one more chance, and I feel like we've been doing that for 10 actual years. And I just I don't know. I'm really hoping that the party can uh, resolve this. I happen to stand on one side of it, but I will say for me, I'm happy to see that this is a bigger conversation and there are more personalities and there are more organizations standing up and having this conversation and willing to say things like Alyssa Slotkin, where she was straight up like, he's mean. Even if there was stuff, I don't really feel like engaging with
Sure.
somebody.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that people are going to see more and more that he's just a very bad actor. He's a bootlicker for authoritarians, and he is anti-American, and he lies constantly. I'm going to actually, caller, thank you, because this is a good opportunity to showcase just how bad he is. I want to show you guys something. Give me a second. Let me share my screen here. This is a tweet Hasan made last night, I believe, and let me make it so you guys can maybe see it here a little better. Can you guys read that? Hopefully you can. So this is in reply to Swan Marcus, who criticized him. Like, I've changed my opinion and now think the Democrats should platform Hasan Piker because today I had a mental image of the Democrats having Hasan try to connect with blue-collar mechanics in Pennsylvania, and that would be so funny. It's almost worth President J.D. Vance. So he's criticizing him a little bit, right? So Hasan quote tweets this, and he says the following. He says, guy who wrote how-to articles about sex tourism in Asia, fantasizing about mechanics in the Rust Belt like they're savages who'd hate M4 all, Medicare for all, free college, and holding Israel accountable. Buddy, you're in for a wild ride if you ever go outside. So the problem with this tweet is Swan Marcus never did this. This is something Hasan made up. He called him a sex tourist, claimed that he wrote articles on how-to guides on how to do this. But this wasn't Swan Marcus. This was some other dude, some right-winger guy. I don't know who he is, but he got the wrong guy. But we got this guy just willing to just lie about someone who's critical of him. Just make shit up. And it's got almost over 250,000 views now. 336,000 views. 10,000 likes. It's crazy stuff. Like, this is a guy that lies constantly, all the time, about everyone around him. And this is a guy we want to get in bed with? No, thank you. It's insane. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm ranting about it, but I don't think people understand just how evil Hasan is and what he's willing to do to get his way and what he would do to people who are critical of him.
If I could comment real quick.
Please.
So just in short, I work in like defense and foreign policy for the government, and I watch a lot of like the way that we have these like coordinated media campaigns.
Just real quick. Rebecca, we're getting a little bit of echo on your end. Can you turn down your sensitivity a little bit so we don't pick you up? Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think my headphones were a little loud. Sorry about that.
Okay, you're fine. Go ahead.
Mine are the same way, which is why I'm doing push to talk right now. And so I'm looking at this this example that we have of Hasan, and it's things that we see by other very, very large content creators on frankly all sides of the political spectrum. Sometimes we see tactics like this used by right wingers and conspiracy theorists and everything in between. But what I would say, honestly, my observation, I would even say my professional observation, is that things like this are actually quite intentional. And like, that's just my take on it. And I would like to pose the question for you and Rebecca. Do you believe that the current, let's say, lib resistance in general in social media, do you believe that they are properly organized to sort of properly counter organized media campaigns, intentional tactics, and like
I think yeah. Oh, well, finish your question, but go ahead.
that was basically the end
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it. I was just trying to find a way to word it all.
You're fine. So if I understand the question correct, you're asking whether or not liberals in general are organized enough in order to counter specific disinformation campaigns or propaganda campaigns made by both the far left and the far right. Is that the gist of your question?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. So I think that they're getting better at it, but they were not there yet, and that's my concern, right? Is that, well, as someone in my chat just said, lying is OP. It's so easy to simply make something up and repeat it ad nauseum. And if you have connections, they'll pick that up. And a lot of people on the right wing, they'll just have group chats where they workshop this information out, right? Like they workshop the best talking points, the best way to counter narratives, the best way to push their messaging, and they'll disseminate it amongst all their people. And the stupid ones will just copy and paste it, and you can see it, and it's easy to see. They'll just copy and paste, and you'll see the same words, the same phrasing used for the same incident, like over and over again by these large accounts. The smarter ones tweak it a bit so it's less easy to spot, but it's still there if you look. Hasan does that same thing, right? Hasan, Mehdi Hasan, Kyle Kalinske, Emma Vigeland, Sam Cedar, all his little orbiters like Mike from PA, they do the exact same tactic because it's effective. If you repeat a lie often enough from enough sources, like, isn't that the guy who did that sex tourism? Like, I'll just use this example, right? Isn't that the guy who did that sex tourism? And they just repeat it like on all their platforms, right? And they back each other up too. When someone calls them out, you'll have hordes of people coming after you, right? DMing you, harassing you, making stuff up about you, pretending you said something you didn't, and just gaslighting everyone around you. And they make it very hard to even kind of deconstruct these things. So you're exactly right that I think that it's intentional, and it's something that they're doing in order to push false narratives just for power. On the right, we saw this with the Pope in the Trump fight. So if you watch, and gang, you can do this on your own. Like, you don't have to believe me. You can go and look at on your own. Look at a lot of the right-wing accounts, like the cynical Publius guy, a lot of the more kind of the what's his face fucking, I forget their names. Okay, it's spacing me.
Are you talking about the bottom
guy?
feeders,
Who's the guy
like
who
the
did
Nick
the woke right, coined the
Sortor?
woke right? What's his
Oh.
name? I forget. Anyway, they're saying that the only reason that the Pope is picking a fight with Trump right now, and that's the way they phrase it, that the Pope is picking a fight with Trump, is because David Axelrod, on behalf of Obama, met with the Pope in order to do this kind of secret combination, this kind of like secret plan on how to hurt Trump with evangelicals and Catholics and to separate Trump from Catholicism. And so they don't have any evidence for this, by the way, but that's the line that they're going with. This conspiracy theory that David Axelrod met with the Pope in order to coordinate a harassment and attack campaign on President Trump. And that's why President Trump tweeted out himself as Jesus. And that's why President Trump is beefing with the Pope, is because this was a secret plot arranged by Obama, because everything's always someone else's fault, right? And again, it's the same story. It's the same narrative. And it's account after account after account with like 200, 300, 400, 500,000 followers, just all pumping out bullshit. And this is going to be taken up by people, their followers and others, and they're going to repeat the same bullshit. Now, the question I have for you, both of you, is should liberals do that same thing? I say no, but I want to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's such an OP strategy, this lying, and having these disinformation networks. And I mean, the right wing has gotten so good at it. I mean, like you said, their network is insane. Their talking points go out like that. Like the few times you see someone break with Trump, it's like, it's okay. In like 2-3 hours, you'll find the right words to say. You'll get your talking points and you'll be good. Yeah, I don't think that's the way to go for liberals, because then we're going to end up in the same place we are now, except with someone on the other end of the spectrum, like a Hasan type, because I mean, people, moderates, they don't really attract radicals and populists, but a left-wing populist who does the same thing as Donald Trump does. I mean, you could easily see that happening where we just kind of stop caring about the truth. Because I mean, people on the right, it's not like the people on the right actually believe the things that they're saying.
I think
This
some
is just the
do,
game.
some don't, right?
I guess it depends on where you are, like in the wrong, like in the ladder. Like if you get these like bottom feeders, like the Nick Sortors and whoever that guy is that ate a banana with a spoon or whatever. Those guys obviously know that they're bullshitting, and they're just like kind of pandering to the little repost bots and the people who just don't know any better. But yeah, I don't know. It's a hard problem because this is what the attention economy incentivizes, is more radical content. No one cares about chill, moderate content where you're just kind of having a nuanced discussion. Everyone wants this like very maximal, like, I hate you because you're this and everyone like you is like this. Nuance has died. And I don't know what the right way is to bring that back. I mean, is it strong regulations from a new government that gives a shit? I don't know. But then also you get these douchebag, like dweeb billionaires like Elon Musk who buy a social media platform just because for propaganda's sake. I mean, he could very well become the most powerful person in the world just because he's going to be a trillionaire. He owns a huge communication platform that I hate, that I love to use. So I mean, yeah, it's such a hard problem to solve without falling into the same patterns as what they're doing. And I wish I had the answer.
What about you, dear caller? And then we're going to let you go because we got a couple other people in here, but I wanted to hear your opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with Rebecca. The dishonesty and the tactics, I think they don't really work for like the normie libs, because the problem with the tactics is when you're a rational person and you're reading something in good faith, you just spot it immediately. You immediately go, well, wait a minute, that doesn't mean X. Like you're just drawing an immediate parallel there to make an argument, and so I think that like if you're utilizing dishonest tactics like that, then it will turn off the people that support you in the first place. But I will say that a lot of this conversation really makes me think about the Kennedy versus Nixon televised debate, which was one, if not the first televised presidential debate, it was one of them. And what was particularly important about that debate was that if you watched the debate, most of the people that watched thought that Kennedy won. But for those of individuals that listened to the debate on the radio, they thought that Nixon won. And so a really good analysis of that, I think you'd have a lot of people back then being like, oh, well, this is this new media environment, and we're actually getting away from the facts, and we're getting into showmanship, and we're getting into the fact that Kennedy looked tan and in his blue suit, and he looked good, and Nixon looked sickly in his gray suit, and so on and so forth. All of that is to say is that the truth is you have to move with the media environment, and I do think that the liberals have to figure out how to have a coordinated media strategy.
I think,
but you can do that without the dishonesty.
Yes, I think that there's two things, and I think I spoke on them yesterday, briefly at least. We need to make liberalism sexy again. We need to advocate as a positive message, like, why does liberalism work? Why is it good? Why should you want to be a liberal? And hell, we need people who are just proud to be liberals, that they don't try to hedge it and be like apologetic about it, like, oh, gang, I'm just I'm progressive really, but we got to moderate and things like that. No, say, I'm a liberal. Liberals are better than progressives. They're better than extremists. They're better than the right. They're better than MAGA. They're better than Hasan. They're better than all these people. Liberalism is the way to go, and they need to be able to explain why. It's good to advocate that we have equality under the law. It's good that we advocate for free speech for everyone, even the people we disagree with. We are the only ideology that actually can work with everyone in order to make your life better. Your rights that you have today, you owe in no small part to liberals and liberalism. And if we want to continue to have these rights, we have to promote it. Anyway, thank you for calling in, buddy. I love you. Oh, the second thing we have to do, we need to coordinate, as you said, to protect each other when we get attacked. I think that a lot of people, one of the most successful things that the left and the right has done is to isolate liberal creators and bully them off the internet. Try to get them killed in some cases. And Ukrainian Anna talked about her experience with that. Kraut's talked about his experience with that a little bit. I mean, everyone, if you're a liberal creator of any size, eventually you'll get this happen to you. And we need to be able to support each other and stop letting them just attack us constantly with no support. Anyway,
thanks for letting me talk.
Yep, bye. Okay. Gang.
Yeah, MAGA's done such a good job at making the word liberal a dirty word. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, this has been going on for years. It wasn't just MAGA. This has been something that has been pushed by the right and the left for all my life. So before we go to the next caller, two things. One, if you're enjoying this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do this all the time. Second, let's read some of these super chats because you guys have paid me some money, and we're gonna read your super chats and go through it. $5 from Grassroots had him on to say best flavor is purple, easily. Oh, we got some competition. Rebecca says green. Grassroots Hegemon says purple. I'm more of a yellow crayon guy myself. Okay, if I had to choose, I like the yellow a little bit. Okay,
We've got
Dwight
all
Baldwin.
the flavors of the rainbow here.
Dwight Baldwin for $5 says, I'm not a Hasan fan, but how many panels can you have about the same streamer before you're just beating a dead horse? Well, Dwight, he continues to be someone that is actively promoted by a network of large media figures, creators, podcasters, influencers, politicians. What do you want me to do? Not talk about the news? Right? That's the news. He continues to be boosted in the algorithm by Elon Musk, right? Funny enough. Yeah, ask yourself the question. Why does Elon Musk and his algorithm boost Hasan so much? Why is it that Elon Musk is actively boosting this far left-wing creator? What possible benefit could Elon Musk gain from boosting this guy in the algorithm? Can
I jump in on this, Wick? I want to jump in a little bit
ahead.
because, I definitely get what the chatter's saying. It can feel like beating a dead horse when you talk about a certain topic. But think back to Trump in 2016, right? I mean, his own party considered him kind of a joke. They assumed he was just going to lose. He was going to be kind of nothing, right? And so they just didn't really fight back against his new brand of this like extreme right-wing populism. And what happened is, without any pushback from the right, he just kind of took the people who were disaffected. And I feel like there's a risk of that happening on the left, especially right now as the Democratic Party and liberalism in general is trying to refine and reassert its identity. It almost is like a battle for the soul of liberalism. That sounds really stupid, but I mean,
no, it's correct. You're correct. Yeah. It's always funny to me, right? Like, you know who's really tired of people talking about the dangers of alcoholism? Alcoholics. Do you know who gets really tired of people who talk about the dangers of smoking? People who are addicted to cigarettes. You know who gets really tired of people talking about the dangers of social media? People who are addicted to social media, right? Like, yes, I get it. You may not be your favorite topic. You may not want to talk about it. You may not want it to discuss. But get your own show. Discuss your own shit. I set my schedule on what I want to talk about, and this is what I want to talk about. So, sorry. Last one for now. $5 from my listening library to say, as someone that grew up in the church in the South, many Southern Christians already don't like Catholics and Pope and look at them as another religion. Yes, that's true. Evangelicals and obviously the Protestants and the Pope have a long and storied history of not liking each other in various degrees. But I guess, conspiracy theory is that the Democrats, Obama specifically, are trying to drive a wedge between Catholics and Trump and using the Pope to do it. That's a conspiracy theory. It's a shitty conspiracy theory. It has no basis in fact, but that's what they're doing, and that's the goal of that specific op, if you will. Okay, next caller. Hello, you're live. Don't click the join live button. Don't click it, okay?
What do I click? Oh, can you hear
You
me?
click, well, first of all, you turn your mic up because it's very low.
Okay. How's this?
A little bit better. Can you turn it up a little more?
Yeah, one sec. How's this now?
Much better. Excellent. And second of all, you just click your camera button so we can see you. So. Yep, there you go. Now you're live. Now you're here.
Good to see you awake. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. What? Well, oh, I remember you. You
do
and
remember,
I
don't you?
talked a little bit on
Yes.
Destiny stream. You said you
Yes.
wanted to continue that conversation.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. Well, first of all, I guess for my audience.
Yeah.
So Destiny had an Israel and Palestine stream last week. Saturday? Sunday? I forget.
Saturday.
Exactly. Saturday. And he asked people who disagreed with him to call in and call on. This guy was with him for about 2 hours. I jumped at the tail end of it to show everyone I shaved my face, and we sparred for I guess about 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. Not very long at all. And you said you wanted to continue the conversation on my show, so I offered you a chance to call in, and here we are. So I guess what exactly did you want to continue to talk about, sir? Go ahead.
Well, I think it ended in an interesting place, which is kind of you took what I said and said it would lead to the dissolution of Israel, which I want to kind of go and circle back to. We can start with me kind of recasting kind of what I had said and see what you think of it this time. But I think I wanted to see why you thought that and challenge what I thought of as being a mischaracterization and see where we go from there.
Well, give me for the audience's sake and for my memory refresher. Sorry, man, it's been a couple days. So here, I guess I'll start this way. As I understood your argument, and you could tell me where I made the mistake or was wrong, is that you were upset that Destiny wasn't talking about Israel and Palestine in the way that you thought he should. And one of the things that you said during the discussion was one of the obvious solutions to the food shortage problem that Gaza has is for the American military to go in, boots on the ground, establish aid sites that would protect Gazan civilians from getting their aid stolen by Hamas, and also make it so that the IDF couldn't do evil IDF things there as well. Is that an accurate kind of retelling of the thing that you said?
It's a very Destiny retelling of what I said.
Well,
I'll restate it, a
go
little bit
ahead.
more clearly. I think you and Destiny suffer from the same, kind of plague right now, which is you're so obsessed with Hasan that you put Palestine and pro-Palestine positions into this sort of framing. Because what I said, for example, wasn't that I wanted boots on the ground. I was arguing with Destiny, you're right, because I don't think he's portraying his position on Israel-Palestine at all. And in fact, at one point, I don't know how long you were watching for before you hopped on, he even, kind of gave his, what he called his loser position that no one wants to hear. And his whole argument with me at some point, when I got him to admit that he isn't actually ever arguing for his position, he's either arguing against Hasan or making, kind of apologetic arguments to defend Israel against bad arguments, was that, hey, he needs to give a different set of alternatives for people to subscribe to. And his whole point was, hey, I've got the loser position. No one wants to hear this. This is not, kind of something that has traction with mainstream politicians. I made the point that I think people have moved a lot on this issue, which you and I chatted about a little bit. And he asked me, what would you do? And I said, one of the things I would do is I'd say, hey, aid is important at this point. And a lot of Americans think we should actually be giving aid in Gaza and think that it's our responsibility to do so because of our relationship with Israel. And so he said, didn't we try that? And it was a peer that we had tried, I think, about 2 years ago. I don't remember all the reasons that went wrong, but it was logistical. It wasn't like we couldn't execute it or we couldn't put the troops on the ground. The problem with aid sites right now is the IDF shoots into them. Not all of them and not all of the time, but it's created an environment where the aid sites are not necessarily a safe place for Palestinians to go to. They also are very far from where Gazans currently reside due to the IDF. And I'm not saying the IDF couldn't be forced to. One of the things I mentioned to Stephen on that same stream is I think, in general, I don't need my set of ideas to happen, but I think both I and other people want differentiation from current strategy, right? We want to see something different. So the other thing I said to him at some point on the stream is, I think certain cabinet members in the Israeli government should be sanctioned by the United States government.
You almost said arrested there.
I honestly, Smotrich and what's his name, Ben Gvir, go for it, but we can't. So sanction them. And look, this is, by the way, the thing you did on the stream as well. I'm not going to let you use I almost said arrested to cast me the way that Destiny does. Destiny's better at yelling than you are. You're not going to be as good at yelling as I am. Let's play a good faith game.
I'm not here to yell at you. I'm trying to
right, but you're going to do the same thing. You made a face after saying arrested. You did the same thing in Destiny's stream where you made a face after a lot of the statements I made, and then you use it to cast aspersions on me and my character. Let's not play that game. Let's have an argument.
Hold on, what
arrested.
aspersions did I make on your character?
Wick, what's the thing that you said at the end? Do you remember?
I think you're hiding your power level. That's true.
What
is that an aspersion?
Do you fear people who hide their power level?
Hmm?
Do you fear people who hide their power level?
Do I fear them? I don't know if I fear them. Depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the context. Like
so either way,
if someone is hiding their power level when it comes to just something like their real thoughts on whether or not they liked Dragon Ball Z, I don't fucking care. But if they're hiding their power level by someone who is saying that, hey, I'm just a moderate voice that wants to discuss like alternative solutions to a problem, and they
don't
really
assume.
actually have an alternate
but ask me,
agenda
what alternative view do you think that I have? Let's talk about my past and my history and my current views.
So based on the limited experience that I have.
No, don't guess. Ask. But ask, don't guess.
Oh, you want me to ask you what your position is?
Let's have a good faith conversation.
Sure. So, okay. You think that we need to do something different in Gaza as Americans, right? That you think that leftists or center-left creators need to advocate for something different than they do.
I think that's different.
So what,
that's a specific
let me ask
Destiny
specifically.
critique.
Let me finish my question.
Yeah.
What should I be advocating for when it comes to Israel and Palestine that I am not currently?
I don't have as much of an issue with. I mostly consume you through Destiny, so I might be slightly wrong that I would have an issue if I watched more of you. But as far as my perception of you, I don't have as much of a problem because I think the challenge with Destiny is he's clipped often, and a lot of what he says is used for Israeli apologetics because he's often arguing with a straw man. Why'd you make a face again? You're so good at faces. And he by the way, agrees. He agrees with this, which is.
Are you going to stop every time I make a reaction?
I notice when you react. My apologies. So here's what happens with Destiny. He agreed with this on the stream. He will be fighting Hasan's argument, or what he, the dumb version of a pro-Pali argument, which requires him basically to most of the time spend about 50 to 80% of the time, no, probably like 70 to 80% of the time, arguing against bad arguments against the Israeli government, in which he's clipped. And it's not shown that he goes, look, but at this point, the past 6 months, he disagrees with a lot of their actions. The past 6 months, there's this one stream where he finally gets a caller gets him to say that he thinks what Israel's doing might be evil. And so that portion doesn't go alongside the rest of his content. Most of his content is spent fighting this straw man, or it's not a straw man, it's a real argument, but this bad argument from Hasan and his crowd, as opposed to maybe fighting that bad argument, but also making a positive case that shows the other side,
I guess,
of a counterbalance. I think that's important for someone like Destiny, who has, again, a tremendous amount of audience at this point.
But my question, though, is if your issue with Destiny specifically is that he's getting clipped in a way that's going to help is the Israel apologetica, as you call it, more than you think it should, I don't know if your solution's actually going to help with that, because he's still going to have to address the bad arguments that are being made. He's 100%. Still going to have to fight against that. And even if he couches that in more strong anti-Israeli language, they're not going to clip that part. They're going to clip
don't
the
think that the clips
portion
are
where
the
he's going
only
after
problem.
when
Sure.
Hasan says something like, "I think Hamas is 1,000 times better than
No,
the,
but if you're
than the
consuming his
Israelis."
content, if you're one of his viewers or you're someone who consumes a lot of him through clips, it would change the complexion if alongside the fighting and the bad argument, and this is exactly what I said to him, he also presented a positive case for change to happen or encouraged behavior to change in the region, either by the United States, by Israel, or by others in the GCC, because ultimately, it's a lot of content that he puts out at this point. You're right. Any of it can be clipped out of context, but people are consuming a tremendous amount of him at this point. Like there's, most people who care about this conversation don't see one Destiny clip in a month. They see several Destiny clips over time, and they start to, kind of potentially either see him either as an enemy or a friend. But the point being, there's a difference between just fighting the bad argument and fighting the bad argument and positioning. And you've kind of been saying some of this in the rest of the stream as I've been hearing. You have to also present your vision for the future. And one of the challenges he has is he does not. And he says he doesn't do it because he thinks it's a loser position. He doesn't present a positive case for the future
because he doesn't think it's going to work. And I can't.
Right.
It's hard for me because I don't know if I 100% agree with Destiny's takes and things like this and this.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to it's very possible he's just fucking wrong. I don't know, right? But if you know that there is a solution, but that there is no pathway towards that solution, I mean, you can advocate it until you're like blue in the face. Like, I would love it if people were just more honest in streaming in general. Like, I would love it if that were the case. If people never lied and were simply honest 100% on stream, if people were genuine, if people didn't worry about being clipped out of context and simply just said what they feel. But I know that that's never going to be how this space works. Unfortunately, I wish it was. I wish to God it was, but it's just not.
He's not helping
and so it'd be
anybody.
Weird for me to spend all day yapping about it because that's just never going to happen. But
now
instead,
he's not helping anybody, right? Because essentially there's a population that's now several populations, call it 3 populations with Iran, Lebanon, and Palestine, 3 populations undergoing, let's call it trauma, so that we don't have to define beyond that and disagree. We can disagree later. That are undergoing trauma that he has sympathy for, and he thinks that should be going through something else, right? That's happening right now.
Yeah, the people in Palestine, the people in Iran, and the people, a lot of people in all those regions are under assault in a way that they shouldn't be, right?
Exactly. And he feels that now more than he used to. That's the change. And it's changed because the Israeli government has changed their tactics.
Yes.
Like he is starting to go look at what they're doing now. And he and I had that disagreement on the stream too. He thinks they've changed, not his opinion of them. Fair enough. So that's one category of thing that's happening. The second category of thing that's happening is he keeps pushing back against this. Let's call it the Hasan argument because I think that represents well this branch of very
what is the Hasan
dangerous
argument?
pro-Palestinian. I call it things that he's afraid will turn into a slippery slope, right? I think it's like Hasan will never come out on stream and like argue for the dissolution of Israel literally, but he will say things that tactically he wouldn't do that.
I could be wrong, but I think he has.
For the sake of argument, tactically he hasn't said that over and over again. And so, one of the things that's happening is there's this like slippery slope version, and he's right, where if you go too fast with all the assumptions of the pro-Palestinian crowd and also being very anti-Israel as a state, there are some slippery slope things that will happen there. So he's worried about this tent, and so he's constantly fighting against it. I think he's convinced his audience that they either agree with him on that or not, right? Like a lot of people in his audience disagree with him on the point of Palestine, and some of them now go, okay, no, I'm in that camp. But he keeps using it as a content cudgel. And there's a third thing that's happening, which is we're about to have new sets of governments, new sets of leaders. Democratic Party, and leftists as a whole will take over government over the next, let's call it 18 to 72 months. And they are open, a lot of them, because they're actually quite scared of this, or historically quite scared of this policy issue, unless they are very strongly opinionated. Most of them are actually what I'd call like default 2010 to 2021 pro-Israel types. In other words, now they're no longer. And so they're kind of looking for something to grab onto. They're not going to grab onto the Hasan part of the barbell because that's too anti-Israel. They're not going to grab perfectly to, the Republican version or the pro-Israel version of the argument either, because that's now what's out of flavor. I think they'd grab onto a moderate version, if we want to call it that, of an argument.
What is a moderate version? Like,
this
is
made that
the problem I
argument.
had.
Hold on,
if I may. This is a problem I had during the portion I watched with the Destiny discussion in the brief time we talked is you're very vague in what you're saying. Can you give me a specific policy prescription that you think would be a winner in
So to be clear,
America
it doesn't
today
matter.
when it
It's
comes to
something
Israel and
moderate. I will
Palestine?
give you that, but let's be clear about my argument so you don't use my argument as the cudgel. I don't need it to be a specific thing. Destiny even made one. It's the thing that his Daliban clips thing clipped. You can go watch. You can put it on stream if you want, where he's yelling at me and going, "Here's what I do," and I thought it was perfect. The one issue I challenged him on, it was a very like in 12 to 24 months, and a lot of things are conditional sort of thing. It was like, here's what I'd say the Palestinian Authority has to do. Here's what I'd say this has to do. So that was so I challenged him. I said, okay, what about the next 12 to 18 months? That's where he challenged me back, and we got to the point of aid. I think the United States being responsible in some version of either enforcement on top of the Israeli government or deciding to put boots on the ground, not in combat, but at aid sites, which we do historically in wars, without losing a single human. We have done. We've also done it poorly. But I would suggest, just because things have gone poorly in the past doesn't mean we can't attempt them again right now. We need to get humanitarian aid into that region, and we need to tell Israel and the IDF to stop what they're doing to some extent. Now, again, if I was czar tomorrow, would I do it differently versus if Kamala Harris was president tomorrow versus if Stephen was the president tomorrow? That's a spectrum I'm all okay with, right? But the point is, I think we need to start encouraging these sorts of smaller moves to get to his, let's call it, 4 to 6 year outcome.
Let's go on this, because this is the second time you've said this, right? It's the thing that I was amazed that you said on Destiny's.
Before we go there, what would you do?
What would I do specifically?
Yeah.
Man, I don't fucking know.
Okay.
This is one of the problems
So you have
that
an
I have with
extremist
talking.
position on my aid position, which you think will lead to the dissolution of Israel, but you have nothing.
Hold on. I know
Is that,
a thousand
am I
ways.
at least describing the
I know
situation
1,000
accurately?
ways that won't work when it comes to building a light bulb. That doesn't mean I know how to build a light bulb, but I know what
Can you
doesn't
tell me
work.
causally how aid would lead to the dissolution of Israel?
No, not aid. Boots on the ground.
What does boots on the ground mean to you? I don't think you understand what boots on the ground
So
means.
in order
boots on the ground
to
does not
get
mean they have to go into
aid,
combat.
like, again, sure, we can say that we want to put boots on the ground and we don't want any combat, but Hamas will attack Americans.
You do not know that, and by the way, they did not attack the pier. That's not why the pier didn't work. So you're making an assumption that's an assumption. You have absolutely no idea that that's true. And by the way, if the United States did that, the Hamas might prefer it tremendously compared to the IDF attempting to do it, because a variety of factors would have to change where other forces other than the IDF are on the ground in these border regions.
Okay.
So this is an assumption.
Do you know why the UN doesn't have any forces in Gaza right now?
A combination of the IDF and Hamas.
Yes, because they will be attacked by Hamas.
No,
or the IDF.
hold on. You can't just say because they're going to be attacked. This is such a poor argument. Of course,
Why is it
when
a
you're
poor
in a
argument?
region, because when you go into combative regions, you will always have a risk of attack. However, it is not by default that if the United States went on a humanitarian mission to feed people, by the way, people who presumably some of them would be, unfortunately, part of a resistance effort inside of the Gazan population, but also to calm the Gazan population, to get resources back into a population that's currently deterred, Hamas might not attack. And by the way, if Hamas attacks, then we consider a different strategy. I'm not suggesting that I know precisely how it's going to work.
You're
But
gonna
neither
have to
do
let
you.
me get through my reasoning here without interruption.
You told me the thing. Hold on,
Okay.
I reacted to you.
I understand. But you gotta let me go and kind of walk you through what I think is the most likely thing to happen if we decide to put boots on the ground in Gaza at a sufficient rate in order to ensure that the civilians there got aid. And that
Sorry, I see something in chat. Just because people are veterans do not mean they get to predict at a higher forecast than people
I'm
not
not
veterans.
using
What a
my veteran
stupid
status
fucking argument.
here
No, I know
because
you didn't. Someone in your chat.
I'm not doing that because I
what a
that's
fucking
not what
dumbass.
I dealt with.
Yeah,
in the
totally.
Air Force.
And
That's
I
not what
appreciate
did.
that you haven't used that this
Sure.
entire time.
Right? But okay. So one of the problems with putting boots on the ground like this is we have to ensure that the aid goes to the people who need it and not to the resistance groups and the Hamas and things like that. Because while you can't you're never going to get a 100% success rate, we need to get a certain percent success rate so it just doesn't continue the problem that they have. In order to do that, not only will we have to establish these sites, we'll have to make sure that Hamas doesn't go into these people who do get these food stuff, who do get these supplies, and they take it back to their home. Hamas is kind of like the quasi in control of that area, though the IDF is kind of it's a mess right now, right?
Yep.
But they have the ability to just go in and take that from them once they get there. So we'd have to not only
not true.
have
What you
troops
just
to guard
said
this
was more
aid site,
accurate.
but we'd have to have a whole network to prevent Hamas from just coming in.
So
and
no,
to do
because
that.
what you said is
And we-
also true. We know that Hamas is not fully penetrated the way they might have been, let's call it 2 years ago or a year ago.
when
That's
I
not
said you
true.
had to let me walk it through it without interrupting.
Yeah, but you make several claims, and you listen to Stephen enough. You know he doesn't like when people do that either. Let's use arguments we like.
know.
Let's be epistemically clean here. You can't make 17 claims and then
I'm
force
not
me to
making
respond to all 17 of
claims.
them.
I'm walking
Go one at
you
a time.
through a path
I'm
that we
disagreeing with the
need
claim
to-
you just made, which is Hamas would go in there and take the food if
You don't
we,
think that
if
would
we gave it to
happen?
Gazans. So we have to understand this is an argument I had with Stephen on stream as well. There's a difference between aid that we'd send in, let's call it like 4 years ago, before at this point, 5 to 7 years ago, before October 7th, where aid would go to controlling parties in, let's say, a region, right? That version of aid is very easy to be arbitraged by combative forces because you're giving it to some central authority to distribute. Even the IDF's aid sites are very different. They go to individuals. Some of those individuals might take some food back and like feed Hamas, but it's not the case that they're giving like resources that would be turned into weapons that Hamas is like thirsty for. Hamas is not very likely to see a family and grab food out of a family's hand.
Why do you think that that's true?
Because that's not the sort of resources Hamas has ever been concerned about historically when they've stolen aid. They've been concerned about resources that are used as part of building weaponry or construction. We know that to be true. We 100% know that to be true.
Hold on. A lot of the aid that they have been stealing in Gaza since October 7th began has been foodstuffs because it's been harder for them to get in supplies of all sorts. And guess what, gang? They
Source,
still
please.
need
That's not
to
true.
eat. They need to feed their troops.
That's
They
not
need to
true.
feed
It's
their
not true. What you just
don't
said isn't
think it's
true.
true?
Look it up right now.
Look it up. Whether or not Hamas has had more trouble since October 7th.
Oh, no.
getting
Whether they've been
aid?
stealing food at a high rate from Gazans.
Since October 7th, and then this is what I'm going to ask. Since October 7th, has Hamas stolen food?
Not has.
from Gaza?
If 5 people have had food stolen, that is obviously not an argument.
Okay, so what?
It's not just
What
has. It's not
rate
a
is
binary. Is
acceptable
it
to
significant?
you?
I don't know. I'll be interested to know, and we could decide if we think the rate is significant.
Since, Rebecca, while I'm looking this up, if you have some thoughts, go ahead, please. I don't want to keep you out of this discussion. You're my guest.
No, you're good. Honestly, the Israel-Palestine topic is one that I'm not super well versed in, and so I like to keep my mouth shut a little bit more. I don't know. My vibe is that it just really sucks all around, obviously. But my focus from an American perspective is trying to figure out our fire at home, so that we can go back to actually having people in office that can help others around the world, especially with the damage we did with USAID as well. So I don't have really fiery opinions on the Israel-Palestine conflict, except that I don't think that we should burn down our own country because our candidates aren't perfect on it, but that's it.
That's fair too. I agree
Okay.
with that.
So here is the AI overview. So take that for what it is. Okay.
Oh no. I don't take that AI overview. I'm a tech guy and I'm big into AI. I love AI. You should never rely on the Google AI overview.
Okay. So do you have then what
Sure, I
source
can
would
look
you
it
like
up
me to
too.
use?
Hold on.
Because
I'll
there's
use better AI.
contested sources on this.
Yeah, but you can kind of. I'll look it up.
Okay, look it up. Because again, if you're going to ask me for specific sources on this specific claim.
Yeah, but you made the claim. I didn't make the claim. You made the claim. That,
Hold on.
And by the way, the
You
claim
haven't
is,
heard reports of this? You haven't heard reports of Hamas
I've heard reports of them stealing
food from
material
civilians?
for construction and weapons. I have not heard reports of them stealing food at any significant rate.
Okay. Okay, if all you
looking it up. Hold
want
on,
is a
I'll-
report of them
I'll
doing
link
that,
this.
then I
Not
can
not a
find
report
one.
of them doing it. Hold on, I'm looking it up. One step at a time.
Sure.
This is your problem. You stack too much.
I stack too much because what you do is you don't let me get.
Do you want me to
where
look it
I'm
up or
going.
not?
Hmm.
Hold on.
Okay, look it up. Look it up. I'm just again, I don't want to get lost from my main point here is
So
that
then don't make a
boots on
point
the
you're not sure
ground-
about.
No, this is my thesis statement. That boots on the ground, and I'm just doing it so you remember why we're arguing in the first place. Because the disagreement we're having, and I don't want to get lost in the trees here, is my claim is that if the U.S. sent forces on the ground in order to distribute aid, that Hamas would attack them. Okay, just saying.
I have no reason to believe that to be true.
Okay.
Why do you believe that that's true?
Because what do you think Hamas's position on America is?
I think that it doesn't matter what Hamas's position on America is. Gaza is destroyed. Gazans need food in a way that they have not historically. It's not Gaza of 2020. It's not Gaza of 2015. And by the way, when we talk about, again, Hamas's objectives, it might not be against Hamas's objectives to have other forces other than the IDF, which has gone wild in recent years, especially the last 12 months, be in the region. They might think of that as being strategically valuable. And whether or not, by the way, if it happens, I'm not suggesting the United States should sit there and take bullets. I am suggesting that there are ways. And by the way, this is the thing I said in the beginning, and this is the part that is a trick that you maybe unintentionally play. I also said we could enforce on top of the IDF. If we took more seriously the idea that we have a relationship where we have a lot of peer pressure, especially now, a lot of peer pressure capability, now that the world is turning on Israel, to say, hey, you do these aid sites better, here's what we expect to see. And by the way, if it doesn't work, and the IDF's attempts also go wrong, great, let's change our strategy.
That's
but
a
we need to
different
take
claim.
a
If all you were, if that's what
It's
you're
not different. I
advocating
said
for-
it. You can roll VOD.
Hold on. I said if that's what you're advocating for, is that we simply apply diplomatic pressure, whether through sanctions, whether through withholding aid, and saying, hey, we need you to do X, Y, and Z better at these sites, we can have that conversation. I don't know if it would work, but I don't think it's as dangerous as putting boots on the ground. That's fair.
Sure, I agree with that.
The problem
Sorry,
that I'm having
just
here
to
is
resolve so that we resolve what I looked up. I asked Claude to do the web research for us. We could decide to look into these sources if you wanted.
Hold on, hold on. So I bring you an AI overview that I said I was about to read, and you said don't use AI, and you're
I
saying
did not say
you're
don't
going to
use
use
AI.
Claude?
I said I'm an
Wick,
AI.
Claude is so much better.
It might be, but it's still
The
AI.
Google AI result.
I didn't say don't use AI. I said don't use AI overview.
Okay.
Use
AI overview
ChatGPT
is
in thinking
terrible.
mode. Use Opus 4.6 in extended mode. I'm an AI guy. I can teach you guys all day. I love it. It is
Maybe.
great.
Go
It is
ahead,
underrated.
Go ahead. It's just an aside.
That's my day job as well, actually.
Oh, fantastic! So you know, Rebecca, we can both teach it.
do.
The again, we could look into these citations, but it kind of agrees that food is construction not contested whatsoever. The theft is very broad, heavily contested as to whether food aid is diverted. Israel obviously claims that it is. USAID, UN contests that claim, and both of them have methodological
Sure.
problems with each other.
Yeah. I guess fair enough. To say though that maybe you don't agree. Would you agree or disagree that one of the main strategies that has been used by Hamas and other quote unquote resistance groups when it comes to Israel is to maximize the amount of civilian casualties on the Palestinian end in order to produce propaganda to hurt, weaken, and isolate Israel as a whole? They want more death. They want more destruction. They want to get those pictures out. They want to get those, that propaganda out. And it's not fake. I'm not saying they're making it up, but they are trying to maximize the amount of Palestinians that get killed in order to gain sympathy with the world, in order to turn the world against Israel.
Do you think that
Would
Israel
you
does that?
agree with that as a basic strategy that they've used for a long time?
Do you think Israel uses that strategy sometimes?
It might or may not. I'm not sure. Not with its own citizens though. That they definitely
You don't think
That's why
Israel
they
has
have the Iron Dome and other things.
kind of accepted and taken advantage of loss?
Yeah, sure. I think that they would propagandize losses on their side, but my argument isn't that Hamas just propagandizes the losses that they take. My argument is that Hamas seeks to maximize the casualties that it's
I don't think they seek to maximize. I do think they are looser on this than Israel by a lot. So, if you ask me like let's say there's 1 being no one does this or the country doesn't do this at all to a 10, I'd put Hamas at like an 8, and I put Israel at a 4.5, and I put the United States at like a 1.5. So I think on the spectrum, Hamas is kind of much more loosey-goosey with the strategy, and it is far more willing to kind of use the strategy.
I'm trying to find a specific quote from a gentleman, one of the leaders of Hamas. I wish I had this on my.
No, but I agree. But again, it's a matter of spectrum. So like I think it's a strategy that all nations will use, and a more combative terrorist organization like Hamas that is kind of a mixture of government and terrorist state at this point. Israel uses a tremendous amount and is probably second. So that's the issue, right? As we're talking about, it's like Hamas, and then it's Israel, and then it's everybody else. And so like I think there's kind of a nation who loves. By the way, keep in mind we still are not allowed to send journalists into the region. Why is that?
Yes, it's a very dangerous place to be.
No, that's not why.
Okay,
Lots of journalists would love to go because
Israel will not allow American has had journalists
Israel
in that region.
will not allow it. Israel does not allow journalists into certain sections of Gaza. You are absolutely out of your mind, Wick. You do not know what you're talking about.
Hold on.
Oh my goodness.
We have had. Let me look this up.
Look it up.
I'm pretty sure. Like Israel has hit,
look it up.
quote unquote, like journalistic sites where American journalists have been.
Look it up.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking post October 7th or pre?
Post.
Post. Then you might be correct.
And
I know for a fact.
Pre, there's definitely limitations, but post, it's not allowed at all.
Yeah, because it's an active combat zone. So
that's not. We're in active combat zones all the time. We literally have American journalists in Iran.
Sure. Okay, well, tell me why you think they don't allow journalists.
Because they also do the propaganda shit, and again, it's like Hamas and then Israel and then everybody else.
Okay.
And so for you to use this as if it's
you
not
understand.
a strategy
Fair enough.
broadly
I'll just
employed by
grant this to
Israel
you. I'll just grant
insane.
this to you. I'll just grant this to you. But you understand what you just did there? I made a claim about Hamas maximizing its civilian casualties, and then you pivot to Israel doesn't allow journalists in the region because of.
I granted you a spectrum where I believe that Hamas is greater than Israel, and you want to continue using the point. So then, obviously, I'm going to expand on why I think on the spectrum.
Pivoted. So you didn't have to address.
How is that a pivot? How is that a pivot? Describe how that's a pivot. Describe how that's a pivot.
Because we're going on one.
You used the word propaganda.
Right? I'm building an argument.
Did you use the word propaganda?
Hold on. I want to remind you. I want to remind you of my thesis statement. I want to remind you of my thesis statement that I feel that if we put boots on the ground in Gaza, that Hamas would attack them.
Fair enough. Did
you
not use the word propaganda?
Arguments. One of the arguments that I am making, or one of the evidence that I'm giving you to point to this thesis statement being true, is that one of Hamas's strategies, overall tactics,
it's one of Israel's strategies too. Is Israel going to maximize the United States? By the way, okay, let's have that argument out. Will Israel try to get Americans killed? Maybe not give Americans intel so that Hamas, shoots a few rockets and shoots a few guns, some Americans die, and it mobilizes us into war?
I can imagine that happening, but not near at the rate.
Well, we just have a disagreement in spectrum.
Rate that Hamas would do this. Hamas would attempt to create a situation
Unfortunately, Israel's far more capable, by the way, of doing this as they actively do it every single day.
Event in order to, again, gain sympathies, to use this against Israel and its allies, the great state in America, right? This is something that they absolutely would do.
And Israel would never.
We're not talking about Israel right now. We're talking about
Hamas.
But
we're using an argument to say, would you say the same thing if we were in the region about what Israel would do?
Hold on. Do you think
this is all
I am
probability
here to support everything?
No, but this is all
Israel
probability.
Does?
We don't know either thing is going to happen, and so when you present this argument, you have to tell
understand
me
why I said it was a pivot,
it's a
right?
Threat. What?
You understand why I said it was a pivot, right? Because instead of talking about the thesis statement, which I'm building up
Let's talk about your
you
thesis.
want to distract by saying, well, Israel bad too. Fair enough.
Let's continue to talk about your thesis. What's the part of your thesis that changes what happens for Gazans and people in Lebanon? What part of your thesis holds space for people in Gaza and Lebanon? Should we just allow them to continue to be attacked and versions or spectrums of starved or resource limited by Israel and the IDF and do nothing?
Again, I don't have a solution for this problem. I'm very forward about that. I told you initially that when you asked me, I don't have a solution. I hope one exists.
But this is why I'm
don't
asking for you
have-
to hold on. This is why I want you to consider something. This is the same critique I'd make of Stephen.
Hold on, what's wrong with me saying that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell
Okay,
you.
Tell me.
You have to, at some point, if you do not have an idea, go, I'm going to pick from the best of the worst options. Guess who you make this critique of all the fucking time?
Who?
H and P are the initials.
Hasan Piker. Do you think that's my hold on. Do you think that's my criticism of Hasan Piker? What do you think my
No, but it's
of
one of the
Hasan
things
Piker
you'd
is?
obviously
But
say
we're
about
not
him, right?
talking
It's like,
about-
oh, he
why
won't
are
vote
we
for the
bringing up
Democrat.
Hasan Piker
Would you
right
say
now?
that? Because it's a great analogy. Would you not critique him for not voting for a Democrat if it's not one of his favorite Democrats?
Hold on.
Would you critique him or not for that?
Yes, but do you think that that's the same thing?
It's not the
as
same
if
thing, but it's a
Hasan said,
great.
I don't
it's
know
a great
how to
analogy
solve a specific
of
situation.
It's an absolutely great analogy. I love my analogy.
What? Hold on.
It's a-
So your criticism of me is that I don't know how to solve the crisis in
I didn't say-
Israel and
I didn't say
Palestine.
not knowing
so I
how
don't
to
have a
solve, because I don't think
specific
any of
policy
us know how to
position to
solve.
give you, or a policy proposal, I should say, to give you in order to solve a lot of the horrific things that are happening there. I don't know how to fix it.
By the way, thank
right?
you to the person
That
in
is
the chat
a
who just said
fundamentally
this.
different thing.
Thank you to the person in the chat who said this is argument really. What if an American soldier dies? How many Ukrainians have died so far? Like 50,000. Sometimes doing the right thing costs them blood. One of the things that really pisses me off about what you said at the end of Stephen's stream that I think is just ridiculous.
You don't let me. You don't let me finish a single fucking
you
point.
get all of
This
your
is
points out. You
frustrating
get all
as
of your
hell.
points out, Wick. You get all of your points out.
I don't
every
get a
time
single
you-
one. I can't
Go ahead.
even get you
Okay,
to
go ahead.
address.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The thing I'm asking you is, do you think that criticizing me for saying, hey, man, I don't have all the answers here. I don't have a specific policy position to give you that would fix this, the state of Israel-Palestine right now, is a similar thing to Hasan Piker saying, I'm going to vote for third
No,
party.
it's how you attack me for my moderate position compared to what would be Hasan's position, but is more than what we're doing today, and make it seem as if there's some other option I'm not reaching for, and therefore I'm an extremist. You have to have some level of charity for if you do not have some alternative that you think we can all point to going, okay, I'm not just going to like mischaracterize you as being an extremist. You have an idea. I don't love this idea. Fair enough. You said at the end of last stream, you said that my idea would lead to the dissolution of Israel, which still does not make any fucking sense whatsoever. And you're critiquing right now a boots on the ground strategy when we're sending boots on the ground, by the way, to Iran because we're tied in with Israel, and this is all kind of if you logic it out, if you can take this intellectual horsepower, it's all Israel's one big campaign.
at the end,
and now it's happening in Lebanon. Now I'm saying we've got to do something different. If you have a different strategy, propose it to me, but don't propose that I'm an extremist.
At the end of our discussion on Saturday, I believe it was, or Sunday, one of the two.
Saturday.
I think it was Saturday. Pretty sure. I was in the middle of telling you,
Great
because
point,
it was
Karen.
my closing statement, there were two possibilities. You interrupted me after the first one. The second, so let me get it out now, okay?
One moment,
I think
and this is in good faith. One moment, Wick. This is in good faith. I really want you to address this. It's not that I interrupted you for no reason. You literally said that my strategy of aid would lead to the dissolution of Israel. Do you not think it's fair for that to be something that someone finds offensive as a misrepresentation when they say, "Oh, we should do aid to Gazans," and then you say that that all your solutions would lead to the dissolution of Israel? Of course, I'm offended by that, and I'm going to call you out. I'm going to yell. Of course.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't say all your solutions would. I said the one that you advocated for on that night
I don't know
would
if that's how
lead
you
to
put
one
it.
of two conditions happening, right? It would either lead to the dissolution of Israel, which would be horrific for a lot of reasons, or
wouldn't.
two, which
It
might
wouldn't.
be equally horrific, is it would unleash Israel, where they have no one holding them back, and they feel cornered like a rat.
Why would that happen?
And they would strike out and
Why would
start
that happen?
doing things that
Why would that happen?
would dwarf what would
Why
happen.
would that happen?
So why would which one happen? We can go through each.
The second
so
one.
the first
Why would it
argument I'm
unleash
making-
Israel?
Huh? Say one more time.
Why would it unleash Israel?
Oh, if were America in the world were to cut off all aid, all support, all intelligence sharing, all allies, they would feel isolated. They would feel like we have no one that will have our backs. We have no one to rely on. So we're going to have to take these things and we're going to have to do what is necessary in order to
Which
get
suggestion of
things
mine
done.
would
It's
lead
the
to
same.
this?
It's the same reason when you isolate individuals, they
Wait,
become
hold
more
on. Which
radical.
suggestion of
like,
mine
hold on,
when you say
can I
isolate?
just fucking finish a point? Can I finish one fucking point?
No,
one,
because you're
one
making up
without
a
you
position.
interrupting me.
You're
just
making
one
up a position.
goddamn point. Just one thing. I want to say one goddamn thing without getting interrupted. Please.
You're making
Okay?
up a position.
Please. Just one. Okay? So, let me fucking finish. I love you, buddy. This is fun, but come on. Okay, one thing, okay, at a time before I fucking forget, because I will forget. So, when individuals are isolated, they tend to go more extreme. That is one of the tactics of extremist groups, is to isolate or make people feel isolated from society, that they have no support, that they have no one, in order to bring them into more extremist circles and to get them to be willing to do more extremist things. The thing I'm positing to you right now, my argument, is that if we do this to Israel, there is a real risk that the same type of thing will happen. Do you disagree with that? Let's go.
Yes, because the entire world has turned on Israel. They do not have the ability to exist without America. They're actually more reliant on us than they've ever been in their history today. I actually wouldn't have said this about 12 months ago because they had not gone so extremist and their government had not gone, on TV every single day saying the craziest and wildest things about what they wanted to achieve from a greater Israel perspective, what they thought about Lebanon and Iran, especially after we went and did some of their bidding in Iran. I think now the entire world has basically turned on them to some extent. I don't know what nation right now considers them to be a reasonable actor. And so they actually are probably more reliant on us, both from a global perspective, places like the UN, but also a defense perspective. We're still bankrolling a lot of what they do militarily, and we're also acting a lot on what they need militarily in the region when it comes to air superiority. And so if we were to isolate them, they would have to suddenly become everyone else's most compliant actor internationally. They'd have to listen to all neighbors, not just the Arab countries, but to Spain, to the UK, who they currently kind of disrespect on a daily basis only because they still currently have us as an ally. So an isolated Israel would not, to me, go unleashed unless they felt so, I will play out the one scenario where you're right, which is they believe there's a moment of existential threat because without us, let's say, Iran somehow gets a nuke from a country that has nukes in the region and threatens to launch it at them. Maybe they launch a nuke first. In which case, everyone has hell broken loose in that region. I don't think that's a high risk if we were to isolate them. By the way, I don't think we should isolate them. I think we should enforce. I think our leaders are puny bitches. I think you and Steven are versions of, I say this in a friendly way, friendly puny bitches, in the sense that we can do so much more. I often say this when I hear a customer service agent tell me that, like, oh, we can't refund that ticket, it's against policy. And I go, what is policy? Policy is what a human says. Some human in your chain can refund me my ticket. There's only humans. I'm a startup founder, so I can change what my startup does any given day.
Okay.
So Americans can go and tell Israel a whole bunch of things. Or isolate, again, that's why I say sanctioning individual members of the Israeli government would be very, very important, because we see these people say certain things and do certain things that we should find so reprehensible that we decide to change our approach.
No, no one's arguing that what we're doing right now, or at least I'm not arguing, that what we're doing right now is working. If I was arguing that, when you asked me what is your solution, I would have said to you, stay the course. There's a reason I didn't say that. And I instead said,
No,
I
but
don't
I said
really
this is-
have a solution for you, is because
Wait,
I don't
I'm
think
okay with
staying the course is the correct
I'm okay with
solution.
that.
I don't think
I'm
we'll get
okay
there
with that. I'm okay
right?
with that, but I
So-
don't like when that turns into a version where you call my aid tactic extremist. There has to be a sense, again.
No. I said your aid tactic would lead to one of two things,
dissolution
because
of
of
Israel.
specifically the boots on the ground segment of
It's
that. Because
unreasonable.
what would happen is it would.
It's unreasonable. It's an unreasonable thing to say.
I don't think it is, man. I think it's the most
let
likely
me tell you it this way.
scenarios.
Let me tell you it this way. Let me put it to you this way. I think if you don't prefer that tactic so strongly, right, then there is more of an obligation on you to have at least an understanding. Not that you know that you're going to be right, because again, I don't know that I'm going to be right, and no one knows that they're going to be right. Everything is probabilistic. The world is going to provide a whole bunch of dynamics we can't predict. But I do think it's true that when we participate in the discourse, there should be a sense to which if we're going to go no, 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 we have something that we're pointing to. By the way, this is my critique, and this leads to what I think, hopefully you're getting a sense of my point with Stephen. I think he should provide some of his alternatives, because I think some of them are well-reasoned and evidenced, and to your point, they might be ones you prefer too, and that I'm okay with. I think these moderate positions, again, I think aid, even if it's like risky, is still more moderate than, again, the Hasan Piker solution or whoever else. These moderate positions don't get airtime, right? Like, no one talks about U.S. trying to do the peer again. Maybe it's not even the aid sites. Maybe we try to do that one peer that everyone and the entire world order was going to provide aid to Gazans for, again, 1 or 2 years ago. I think that would be fine too. In other words, there needs to be this vocalization of these other options so that our leaders feel like there's something else they can pick from.
Hold on. I'd be happy to do that, and I think I'm not even going to speak for Destiny, because Destiny can do whatever he wants, right?
He thinks it's a loser position.
But yeah, again, you can talk to Destiny about it again if you want to talk to Destiny about it again. But you're talking to me, so I'll give you my opinion here.
Yeah.
I have no problem with discussing more moderate solutions or more moderate positions on Israel, or what I think might get us closer to something that's working and things like that. But the reason I can't, and it really is I can't, is because you have a sizable and growing segment of the left who I feel, and I'm not including you in this, so don't get mad, okay? I don't know you enough. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I don't know you, right? Who are trying to weasel in, right, the destruction of Israel into their advocacy, that they will accept nothing less. Look at the comments that AOC has made, right? When she has said, and she's one of the most anti-Israel politicians we got on the Democrats, right? But nothing's ever good enough. And she said this in the Axios report that came out recently, that nothing's ever good enough for the left. The left will just turn on you. And that's just a large and growing segment of people on that side of the aisle who are, again, they will accept nothing less. Anything that they put forth that seems like it's less than that is just a stepping stone to get to that. It's the same reason why I don't trust Trump or MAGA when they say, oh, we don't want to get rid of, like, all immigrants. We just want to get rid of the violent ones. That was a fucking lie. We all knew that was a fucking lie. They were just lying in order to get power so they can do what they actually want. I posit to you, I argue to you, right, that Hasan and those people are doing the same thing when it comes to this.
So this is super important. I love this topic because I have a strong opinion, but I'm aligned with you. So again, I told you this.
But just real quick, we do gotta. This will be the last thing, because then I do gotta.
You want to go to your other shitty chatters? Fine.
Well, we got a lot of chatters, man.
Yeah, but they don't say anything. Your chatters are. I listened for 20 minutes and I see people in the chat saying I'm a mic hog.
Hold on, if you want, I can keep you on, because I think a few of them want to yell at you.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm fine.
Let's do that. Okay,
by the way, if at any point
on this specific segment, then I can start.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, if at any point I accidentally drop my monitors did a freak out 2 seconds ago. So this is super important. I have the same feeling because I mentioned this to you in a reply on Twitter, but like I think it's useful to know my politics. I'm a Obama Clinton liberal. I am like an anti-Bernie. Have lost friendships over kind of the left. I almost ranked Cuomo before being negatively polarized the weekend of the primary he had with Zoran. I decided to sit that one out and then became a huge Zoran Mamdani fan, but it's the only person on that side that I've ever voted for. On the Israel-Palestine issue, I have historically been very conflicted because I'm an Iranian by background. I was born there, but I grew up in America. I have a lot of Jewish friends, a lot of Israeli-American friends. And I've found it to be like a humanitarian challenge that I don't speak up about because I understand both sides of the issue. And so at this point, I found myself, though, just completely thinking of it as a crisis we need to deal with in a heavy-handed way. Now I think, though, we're afraid of finding people who aren't like me, and this happened with Stephen in the beginning of the stream. Again, I don't know if you heard that portion, but he immediately just began, I was making fun of him for it. I was like, stop calling me the pro-pally this, and he was like, oh, all of you are mind-raped, and all of you are retarded, and I was like, hold on, like, there is not one big bucket. Now, it's hard to find this bucket, I think, in streamer world, so I think, like, your call-ins, his call-ins, the streamers that we're talking about, there I think people have a lot of innuendo and secret agendas. But The thing that I'd say, and this is hard to navigate, so I don't have an answer here, but I think it's a thing that I want to point to. I don't think that's true as much as the populace. And so when we worry about the slippery slope thing, I don't think people would follow. I don't think Hasan would actually like. I think he would prefer that Israel is to some extent there. I don't think. I don't. But the point being, there's this sense to which we're afraid of the people who would take it to that next level, such that we're not finding the populace that doesn't want to take it that far, but isn't, kind of okay again with status quo. And again, I don't have the solution here, but the thing I challenged Stephen for, and the thing that I wonder if you have any ideas on, is how we stop bucketing so quickly. Where we go, okay, it's true that again, some people are gonna have these secret agendas, but we need to begin to have the conversation and take some risk.
I'm fine with conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm fine with I'm hearing you out.
No, this wasn't a critique. This was a real question. I agree with you.
But just to tell you, my thing is, I think it's happening more than you think. I think that what gets attention is the conflict. What gets attention is the very extreme views.
Yeah.
But the other things are happening. It's just no one reports on them.
Are they though? I mean,
I do. I think they are. I've had conversations. I've had some extreme conversations too, obviously. But I've had conversations which were very mild, which were very okay, well, you are more anti-Israel than I am. I am more pro-Israel than you are, and we have a fun conversation.
Yeah.
And it's fine. But the problem is that there are bad actors on both sides who say if you don't support everything the IDF does, you are a Hamas supporter, you're a terrorist lover, you're all this, right? And you've seen this happen. You've seen people say this. I'm sure that they've said this about you.
Yep.
On the other side, it happens too. If you say, well, you know what, gang? Yes, the IDF, what they're doing is horrific, but the Hamas did kill a bunch of civilians and things. You will have people like, oh, you Zionist bootlicker, you love genocide, you love to kill Arabs, don't you? You just don't care about Palestinian lives. And it happens on both sides. And they're doing this. It's called reciprocal radicalization, right? They're trying to radicalize both sides of the aisle. So the one side can point to the other side and says, we have to go more extreme because look at what the bad things that they're doing. And the other side, well, we have to go more extreme too because look at the bad things they're doing. And it's just, you get a situation where where Pod Save America tries to save Hasan from himself and say, you don't actually support terrorism, right? And he's like, well, no, actually I do. I really love Hamas, and they're 1,000 times better, right? They're the lesser evil, right? And I wouldn't vote for, Newsom, but I'd vote for Hamas, right? And it's just crazy. It's just crazy shit.
But it's funny because you found, I think, and maybe this is local to Stephen, but Stephen
but again, we got to start bringing people on. So
yeah, I'll just say this: I think you found my
briefly,
critique of him, which is he needs to have more of those middle conversations rather than just fighting one side of it. Which, by the way, you can help with because you often have him on, and I think it's it's not as entertaining when he's not yelling at somebody.
For calm discussions. God, yeah. I gotta make some money. Anyway, let's bring in some people. I forgot the order you guys came in, so if I do it wrong, I'm sorry. Let's start here. Hello, you're live.
Yo. Wick, just want to say great chin, bro. Great chin.
Thank you.
Also, and nice to see Short Fat Otaku rubbed off on you, bro. We got Stacey K, and now we get Lilith Lovett, both in the same week. And we're hearing that ContraPoints is gonna do a debate against Hasan Piker.
I hope it happens. We'll see though.
She might need a moderator, bro.
If they pick me for that, then hell yeah. But I don't think I'm going to get picked for that one, unfortunately.
I don't know. Are you still going to keep the same anti-Hasan energy as the moderator?
Not as a moderator, no. But after the debate's done, yes. As a moderator, I will be as hands-off as I can, which isn't 100%. But I'll make sure he gets a chance to speak his piece.
All right. I want to make a point about because we've had so many fucking extremes about this, about whether the Dems should go 100% all in on using the courts to go after the villainous swine that have extorted our country and the administration. We've had way too many conversations. I think the best way to angle this going forward is who are the candidates running and are they winning the elections? We have the outreach at this point to start like talking to candidates who are actually running, talking to candidates who have chances of winning. Let's just can we just like try reaching out to them and say
Go ahead.
where are you on this as a House rep um,
Sure.
candidate, as a Senate candidate?
I want to.
I
I
think
want to
this is
hear
a better way of doing it.
Yeah, I want to hear the opinions of Rebecca first, and then what's your name? I'm sorry, sir.
I'm Jocular. Just call me Jock.
Jocular. Okay, yeah. Give us your opinion, Rebecca, please.
Yeah, so you're talking about the courts specifically, how the Democrats should kind of weaponize that back when we take power. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually wrote about this somewhat recently. I've been following this conversation with great interest because I do think that we are at a place right now where half measures are not going to do it anymore. We have seen an illiberal party that has decided to just leave the sandbox and altogether, and so you can't force them back if you don't fight using some of their tactics. Now, I think that you can do that without becoming completely illiberal yourself. I mean, look at what Gavin Newsom did, for example. Texas was ordered by Donald Trump to gerrymander, get rid of Democratic seats. Gavin Newsom said, fuck you, we're going to do the same thing. But he put it up to the voters. And more importantly, it expires when Congress does their job and puts forward a national, anti-gerrymandering protections in place. So you can kind of take this illiberal action in pursuit of fixing the system with a liberal end. There's this kind of like off-ramp, right? And I think that we can do a similar thing with the filibuster. I do think that the court needs to be expanded. The Garland blockade and then Barrett got accelerated through, and Trump might get yet another Supreme Court pick right now. I'm hearing, I already forgot his name, but might be retiring this summer. So, he might get another pick. And Democrats have tried so hard to play fair and to just kind of, stick to the rules and the norms, and Republicans just keep breaking them. So at a certain point, you either let them kind of take over. And we've seen what their end goal is. They have these Curtis Yarvin tech bro billionaires who want like corporate dictatorship. And then they also have the Heritage Foundation in their cabinets. And they used Hungary's competitive authoritarian model as, kind of their gold standard of what they want to bring here with, a little more of the like Christian Sharia flavor, right? Like this Christian nationalism. So I think that the only way you can actually fight this fight is to use the courts, expand them, get rid of the filibuster, at least temporarily. You have to.
Well, I disagree. I disagree with on that.
You disagree on the filibuster? I'm about it.
If we didn't have, so this is something that people were advocating to get rid of years ago, right? On the Democratic side and the Republican side, right? But everyone there's extremists in both factions that want to get rid of it. The problem with that is, could you imagine if we didn't have the filibuster now? We'd have the SAVE Act. We'd have the worst things that Trump wanted to do. We would have much less ability, even as a minority party, to stop him. Things would be exponentially worse. So I understand the frustration that people have when we can't pass legislation that we otherwise want to, but I would argue that giving up the ability to stop bad actors is going to be worse for us than sometimes we can't get everything we want through.
I get what you're saying.
I'll finish real quick and then I'll let you respond. Biden, even with the filibuster in place, was able to pass a lot of really good legislation. He was able to get through a lot of really good bills, like the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, all these things, right? It's something that is an obstacle, but it's not insurmountable. But go ahead, please.
Yes, Biden, best president of my lifetime. All right. I agree with Rebecca, and I think the best answer to this is who is winning elections at the federal level, and who is going through who
Gotcha.
who is saying this, who who on the electorate is saying, do we even go after them? How much ferocity do we go after them, right?
Well, thank you for calling in, buddy. We do got a bit of a line, but I appreciate you being here, and have a great day. Okay, man.
All right, see you, bro.
This guy. Okay, just a little guy. Hi.
What up? How y'all doing?
What you got for us, sir?
I had a contention earlier with something Jervine said about the Israel-Palestine issue.
Hit me.
Yeah. So specifically when it comes to the propagandizing of the losses on either side, on October 7th, yes, there was a lot of propagandizing about the losses that the Israelis had from Hamas, because people did come in with electric hand gliders and attacked a festival. What I believe is what it was.
Yeah.
But I take offense with the idea that the Israelis need to be attacked.
You cut out, man. We didn't hear
Sorry.
anything you just said.
Sorry.
Try again.
So I take contention with the idea that the Israelis are putting them there intentionally to be attacked like that. The way Hamas is intentionally positioning themselves in places where the citizens can be harmed when Israel strikes back, which I think is a large issue with,
Sure.
and then the large difference between how these interactions are occurring.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think it's true again that I think it's on a spectrum, where Hamas is definitely doing far more of this than Israel is. But I think the thing I'd say back to what you're saying is that it's not just the October 7th attacks that Israel uses as propaganda, and we've seen them talk about this often. The kind of useful thing about Israel is a lot of these strategies are talked about, in public or in the legislature or by former prime ministers or people who are part of the IDF, where they do know that propagandizing, usually and historically to their own citizens, is an important part of reminding their citizens to be wary. So it's not that all of this, by the way, is necessarily negative, kind of negative. I do think we get sometimes confused by what we mean when we say propaganda. For example, is it staged? Is it enabled? Is different than is it just propagandized? And so on that vector, I would say, it's not that I believe either side would not use narrative to their advantage whenever anything happens to their citizens, to make sure that both sides are riled up and kind of both do what they can for that point. But I would agree with you that Israel is going to try to protect its citizenry from a livelihood perspective more than Hamas.
Yep.
By many degrees.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, and again, I think we
I
should be wary of it when both sides do it.
Yeah, and I think it's to a point where Hamas intentionally does it because they know they can propagandize on it and make Israel look
I don't
worse.
know about that all the time. Now, I'll say this. I agree with you that happens because Hamas is far more careless with lives than and any more rogue, whatever they are, organization, terrorist, state, whatever you want to call them, will be more uncaring. However, I do think we've now begun to look for it a little too much, and we've assumed too much. Again, I don't want to kind of overkill on Steven watching Destiny, but he'll go over streams where I go, we're looking a little bit too much for evidence that this thing that happened was not as either Palestinians or journalists will claim. The example that I saw a lot of actually too was there was that journalist that almost got hit by a rocket 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, or hit right behind him. And the journalist thinks that it was, kind of semi-intentional. And I would say, I think people who fought against that are looking a little bit too much to excuse Israel for something that was clearly at least careless.
Yeah, I got to interject here because there's I agree with you and I disagree with you. I half agree.
Yeah.
I half disagree. So yes, I agree that a lot of people have motivated reasoning when they're looking into. They're not looking to say whether or not something happened. They're looking to disprove a thing, right? And this happens on all sides. This is a thing, and I do agree with you that happens too much. We should do less of it. Instead of saying, we are going to seek out to disprove this happened or this claim happened, we should stop doing that and see if it did or not. But I disagree with you that we should look into things less. I think that when one of the most frustrating things about Israel-Palestine, why I hate it. I hate talking about this a lot, is because I cannot ascertain without huge amounts of effort what is actually going on. There are so many false claims being just thrown out there, propaganda in the bad sense, right, where they're just fucking making things up, right, that in order to sift through what's actually happening from what people are just saying is happening is enormously difficult. There's a lot of obstacles to that.
Yeah.
I think that people need to go and look into that, but I understand why it's so easy for people to just take the headline and run with it, right? Or just Google
Great point.
www.whyimright, right? And
So to interject, one of the biggest issues I have also, as someone who's of Israel, but also
I'm sorry, your mic, man. You gotta.
Oh. Hold on, let me try.
Is it just me or are other people having trouble with
No,
this?
it's true.
No, it's come through here too.
That is weird. Hold on. Is that any better?
Keep going, and we'll see.
All right. So one of the biggest issues I have is that sometimes when I'm speaking to pro-Pally people is many of the points that they bring up about how Israel is conducting itself wrongly in the war or how it's responding to Palestine is wrong. Like they're allowing settlements into places where there are Palestinian people living and stuff like that. They're forcing people out of their homes and stuff like that. And I'll say, yeah, I agree. Those are terrible things. But we can also agree that Hamas is doing terrible things when they're sending in people to not only kill a bunch of people, but rape a bunch of people. And then people like Hasan will be like, oh, no, rapes didn't happen. And it's like, no, we have evidence of all this.
So I hate to say this because I'm very anti-rape. The evidence for this
you don't have to say it. You understand that, right? You don't have to.
No, but I think this
what
is
you're
important.
doing now, you're going to choose. With the next words out of your mouth,
Listen,
you are choosing
you can
to
either say,
Yeah,
you can either say,
I will.
You can either say the evidence is there because we have the evidence there that they
don't.
did come in.
We have the evidence that came in. This whole idea that there's a tremendous amount of sex crimes committed. Now, I will give you my perspective because I think honesty is super important here. I don't think that no sex crimes happened. But I don't think an amount of sex crimes happened that should control this narrative. We don't have evidence of this quantity.
I think my evidence is their ideology.
Can I just finish?
I think my
how many?
There's an important.
Where's
the
the line?
point I'm going to make. There's an important point I'm going to make. I promise. I promise you're going to like this point, or at least understand it.
They should come in and kill and rape the enemies of
One of the reasons I don't bring this. One of the reasons I don't like when this is brought up. It's the same reason that I will often not like in general when a lot of this, like, what happens in terrorism or war is brought up. Because in 2017 to 2018, I worked for a company. I'll even name the person so you can go look up that there's a real human being that existed. A member of the IDF was the COO of this company. The company's name was Stella.ai. The COO's name is Itai. I've not spoken to him in many years, and I don't even care that I'm calling him out here. He was former IDF. I'm Iranian, as you guys can all hear. I'm very politically opinionated. He and I would get into political debates, not even about Israel-Palestine. We would get into about like, this was early years of Trump. But we were friendly enough that he found it amusing every once in a while to literally take his phone, turn it to me, and open these WhatsApp groups where current IDF soldiers will share with former IDF soldiers visions of war. And he would be laughing and showing me images of Gaza and Gazans dead that were being shared back to him. I had real experience with this thing that we now have seen leaks of, these reported WhatsApp groups. And I would be like, stop, Itai, stop, and whatever. And I go like, I don't bring that up except today, right now, except to say that it's fucked up. People in combat are fucked up, and fucked up things will happen. And he would, every 2 or 3 days at lunch, turn a phone to me and show me dead Gazans as an IDF alum. And I go, look,
we can agree right,
but I guess I wash that all away. I go, that's in the wash. Let's as the US, the protector of liberty, the protector of people, say none of it should happen. And again, this is why I'm somewhat okay with boots on the ground. I go, if we're gonna lose money, if we're gonna lose our spirit, if we're gonna lose our politics to an outside war, I somewhat think we should either get involved or come back. And by the way, I'm Iranian. I don't like U.S. intervention.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you could pick one, so you're in charge of the military, but we only have resources to go into either Israel, Palestine, and stop that, or we could stop Russia, Ukraine. Which one would you go to and why?
When you say stop, we would use the forces to like stop
Yeah,
the conflict,
we
or
would boots on the ground, stop it from happening, resolve the conflict.
And I guess in either
might.
situation, it would resolve as is. I guess is the hard part of that question. Like
No, specifically, what would you support putting boots on the ground in?
No, sorry,
Like,
no, I want to make sure I get Wick's question. Then I'll
ask
answer,
ask again. I didn't catch what you asked. Please.
Like, would Israel-Palestine resolve as it is?
What do you mean
where,
as it is?
Like you say, put boots on the ground to stop the conflict. Like, and then Palestine and Israel are as they were before October 7th. Like, tell me, like,
to stop the quote unquote genocide.
Okay, so I guess like, where do Gazans live after that?
Where would they need to live for you to be okay with putting boots on the ground there instead of Ukraine?
I guess if they could return back to Gaza.
Okay, so full right of return?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, it's an interesting question, by the way. I love that question. That's a great hypothetical.
Well, because the reason I ask it is because we have limited political capital of what we can do or advocate for as influencers, as people who want to steer the Democratic Party or steer the public in a specific direction. What platform should we run on?
I think,
if I may finish, my real advocacy, and you might not like this, is I don't think we run on this at all. I don't think we run on Israel and Palestine at all. I don't think that should be something we talk about when it comes to the midterms. I don't think that's something we should talk about when it comes to 2028. I don't think it should be the issue we discuss. We should be discussing affordability. We should be discussing grocery prices. We should be discussing inflation. We should be discussing how to build housing, abundance, all these things, right? It does not mean that these conflicts are not important
to them.
But it's just something that I
But almost
think
60% of Democrats now say that Israel-Palestine is an important issue to them. Almost 60%. This is up from, by the way, if you go back a year to 18 months ago, it was only at like 12 to 20%. So this is.
But is it something that's going to mobilize them, though?
I think not talking about it would. That's the unfortunate part. At this point, like I think even if I give
I
them
don't
some
think
like,
I don't
oh,
think
I
we
wouldn't
gain
mind.
a single vote, honestly.
Hold on. I think we lose votes if we don't talk about it.
No, what will happen is it's this because unfortunately Kamala played the center game, and that she didn't go. She tried to get both onto her team, right? And neither was happy. And so neither wanted to be on her team. I think that all politicians, if you go to one extreme side or the other, that you're going to lose the entire other side. And if you try to go a more central, moderate route, you're going to lose both sides.
Actually, I have a question for Rebecca on this because you said you like you're not that opinion on this issue. Would you be okay with a candidate not expressing an opinion? Because like it's interesting to like not have a preference, but I wonder like would you penalize a candidate, a primary candidate, let's say, for like trying to not state a stance as to how they'd govern on that issue?
And you're talking about a candidate for president, right?
Yeah.
No, I think I would like a candidate who does at least have an opinion on it. I think I and a lot of people are kind of sick of milquetoast politicians who are too scared to take a position on something. And I'm not saying I want them to have an extreme position on either end, but
just to interject here, and I'm sorry for interjecting, but I think this is important. Like, I hear you when it comes to national politicians, but why the fuck are we asking a mayor to take a position on Israel fucking Palestine?
Yeah.
Why are we asking the comptroller what their opinion on Ukraine and Russia
The only
is?
mayor I actually think needs to be asked, but I think he handled it well, is Zoran, because New York plays a very different role as home to so many Israelis, Jewish population, and Palestinians.
But I think in
But
general,
by the way, he handled it well. He didn't say like, oh, I think the president. I mean, he obviously has a stance, but he also like in his candidacy did not try to say, here's how I think the war should go. He just said, here's what I kind of vaguely think. It's not my job as mayor to run the U.S. military.
I think you might agree with my larger point, though. That
that's my issue nowadays, but
you don't. And one more, like I'm sorry for interrupting you, Rebecca, and I understand, but like I'm just sick and tired of people being like, "Oh, what's your position on Israel-Palestine?" And they're like, "Man, I'm a fucking dog catcher. I don't
So
know."
real quick,
Like,
real quick, I did want to interject here real quick. I think
real quick,
there's
the last thing, then we got to cycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there are more people that are on the pro-Israel and pros two-state solution side of things that are more willing to support someone who's not going to give their opinion, even on the national level, on Israel. Because I think they're a lot more tolerant of that kind of thinking.
Because they know
I
it's
think
secretly a pro-Israel position right now, for most
maybe.
people who are silent.
Maybe,
to be
but
fair.
you can speculate on that. But for the
I
most
think
part,
you agree. I think you agree. I think you and I can agree.
I don't
on
know.
that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But I think more so, the fact of the matter is, you're just not going to win people that are like vehemently pro-Palestinian just because they are so plugged into the issue. And I think for a lot of Americans, they just aren't. They just don't care because they're more worried about, why can't I pay for my fucking gas because it's nearly $5 a gallon. And meanwhile, our president and our head of states and men are all thinking, I'm going to sell out the United States for Israel. When you have people like Lindsey Graham saying it.
Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You take.
Bye. We're going to get 2 more people, then we're going to end because I know people got stuff to do. And gang, we'll keep going if you keep giving me money, but if you don't, then I'm going to follow through on my threats. Okay, I'm holding you hostage, okay? Give me money, super chat, throw me gift subs on Twitch, bits, all that really helps. Hello, you're live. Oh, you're deafened. Oh, you there? Hello?
Yep. I'm just on my own shit. How you doing, Wick? How you doing?
Hi. What you got?
I have Hasan questions. I did my due diligence talking to Ofux when I came in, because I came in with the family after doing some business, to ask some questions about Hasan, but then I saw that you got carried away and you brought in one of the DevCordian mods to ask a question, and I was on my own stream waiting for my turn, and I had responses to that. But my question to you is, on the Hasan question, have you considered bringing in people that are not considered like mainstream political platformed figures that are amongst the liberals and others to really like sit down and have the exact same liberal table that you've already had, but actually bringing in the people who never get heard from? Because I think if you actually start doing that, you're going to realize that there's a lot of people that for that coalition you said you wanted to build, alongside the other people from stream before last. So last week when you had on all the other people, and then you had Erudite saying that you wanted to build something in opposition to Progressive Victory, since they've decided to fuck you guys over in favor of the commies.
Well, to be clear, just to correct you on that, she doesn't want to build it in opposition to Progressive Victory. She just says that liberals need to support each other. And I want to also be clear, my idea for this might not be hers, right? And my idea is very in the brainstorming stages. I don't have something specific to give you. I just know that we need something like this. We'd have to hash out what that is, right? But it might be a lot different than what Erudite has in mind. I just don't want people conflating my stance with other people's stances, but go ahead.
No, I understand that. And I was trying to comp out for that because I'm saying, because she's not with Progressive Victory and they're doing with, what was it called? Digital something underground?
Digital Ground Game. Gang, Digital Ground Game. I'm not affiliated with them officially. They're not paying me. I just want to make that clear, right? I have no connection. I know people in it and they're my buddies, but like I'm not officially involved. But I did help them with a fundraiser that they had. And they raised over $250,000 in order to help Democrats win this coming midterm election season, and I'm really excited for that. I do hope that they reach out to me and ask for my assistance when it comes to the canvassing houses are going to do. But we'll see, right? I'm not officially connected, but they're a great organization. You should donate. I'm not getting paid to say that. I'm saying it because I like them. So, yeah.
And give him money. And give him money. Pick him for debates. Give him money. But no, back to my question. My question to you is, especially on the figure of Hasan, you already know that I agree with you inside the symposium when you talk to us about the danger that Hasan poses to you. And I found it strange because I've asked this question to other people who are influencers in the scene. You know, the little people who nobody ever sees or talks to. And they all agree at this. But there are people that somehow keep trying to carve out a space for how somehow they need to have Hasan Piker be the voice of the influencers, and they somehow continue to just keep letting that happen. Like, we have to let him keep doing propaganda. We have to keep letting him lie out of the side of his neck and then directly on the platform and then make money from doing it and then be platformed while monetized while doing it and then continue saying these things on places like Piers Morgan Uncensored because he's our guy, air quote, their guy of
But yeah,
the
that's
left.
just tribalism, man. That's gonna happen.
You don't mind?
People
I
are gonna pick
want to.
their sides. But go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
I do think that he's underrated in terms of his audience in two ways. One is, and this I think these are what people who are uncertain as to his role in the next election are really getting at. One is it's tremendously female in comparison to all the rest of the liberal alt media crowd, in like a dramatic ratio.
Yeah, they
and
think
so,
he's hot.
Fair enough, but like he still has them as an audience, right? Like,
Yeah. No, you're not right. Like this
yeah,
is why
yeah.
when we like talk about reaching out to young men, it's always weird that people talk about Hasan because his audience isn't young men.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I agree with you. They're mostly
Yeah.
female. Yeah.
Which is a tremendous, and I think that's one of the reasons they value his audience. The other reason is because they're very mainstream in comparison to anybody else in his. Let's use any liberal alt media streamer as a comparison. Those individuals are seeking out this content so aggressively. His crowd is, kind of, I call traditional. I don't know if CNN has viewership anymore, but like CNN viewership, but of a younger generation. And I think these individuals vote at an extremely high rate compared to everyone except for like maybe a few streamers who have active communities, like everyone who does digital ground game. But the rest of most streamers don't. Even if you think that their audience is very activated and can be very like active online,
so
most of those audiences tend not to vote in comparison to like this like CNN-ish audience.
Two things. One, CNN's average viewership a day is almost 1 million. Okay, so
great.
Does CNN not have
CNN.
viewership? I don't know. Right? Yeah. Is 1 million? I don't know where that sits. I don't know where
that compares
perspective
to,
to other organizations. But isn't like Hasan's viewership significantly less than that, which would make sense.
But he has so much on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're doing this.
No, on
right?
Twitch, no. On Twitch, he doesn't have nearly as much. But I think if you counted his clips and this like generic crowd who's there for like lifestyle,
but you'd also
politics.
you'd also have to count CNN's clip channels and things like that, which I don't know if they do.
Yeah, by the way, I wasn't saying he has more or less than CNN. It's like a CNN type voter, as in it's like a mainstream Democrat.
The second thing is, what is your evidence that they vote more than the average? Like, well, let's just use, I don't know, Asmongold viewers.
Yep, exactly.
I don't know about Asmongold viewers. That's a special crowd. I'll use.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say there are a lot of streamers that let's. I want to put aside like Asmongold and Destiny because those are like two crowds that probably are very active.
Oh, well, I'm just looking for comparison size-wise. Then, like, what?
Did you say Sam Hyde?
Yes, I said Sam Hyde.
Sam Hyde's viewership definitely does not vote nearly as high a rate as the general population.
How about Christian Stoll?
Hold on, I'm just wondering what metric you're using to measure.
So there
Hasan's
was
voting.
there was a survey or a poll about this, or it must have been exit polling or something like that. People who are highly online versus TV viewership, this is why compared to CNN, vote at a lower rate. And Stephen is very good at getting people to do things, I think, very uniquely, and I don't know about Asmongold, but like those two communities are very rare. If we looked at, again, this is probably 2020 data or 2024 data, online politicos vote at a far lower rate. I can try to find it in a second.
Okay, so
and then
but why is Hasan's
CNN
different?
Because it's the CNN types, right? So it's a mainstream, highly female demographic. I call it more like general millennial and Gen Z, who, again, pattern to me more like a CNN viewer. And Democrats are actually pretty good at turnout.
I disagree with this. I think that the youth vote, the Gen Z viewers votes at a far lower rate than the older
No,
people.
Agree. I'm pointing out difference between let's say the same 25 to 30-year-old demographic in Hasan's
so you're
audience.
saying within a specific demographic of like 25 to 34, you think someone who views Hasan is more likely to vote than someone who does not.
It's a more active, civically oriented person. Probably goes outside.
I don't think we have enough information to like. I could guess, but it would be a guess.
Yeah.
I do
know
guess,
for a
my
fact
instinct,
that there was
just to make this clear, my instinct is a lot of Hasan's viewership is international. I don't think they vote in American elections at all. I think that a lot of his viewership comes from South America, comes from Europe, comes from Asia, comes from other countries. To the extent that he is viewed in America, I couldn't tell you if they vote more or less than the average viewer. I don't know.
Assuming
The
that they
reason
aren't
I
hate
would
watchers.
slightly push back against that is that, again, I think this like TikTok, Instagram crowd is a lot of American people who come for his lifestyle content and his affiliations with like all those lifestyle streamers in his group. I'm forgetting all their names, like Cutie
Adams
and
and Frogan and Cutie, Cinderella and her husband Ludwig, and pretty much everybody who's a part of
so
OTK,
there's
and Under Thieves. I could go on.
Here's $5. Just let me make a little money. $5 from Karen D. Hippie to say, how can we focus on our own country's issues when it's glaringly obvious these foreign issues directly impact Americans? Well, that's a big answer there. There is an answer, though. From me, is like, we don't have to... I'm not advocating that we don't say anything or do anything about foreign entanglements. I'm not an isolationist. I think we should be active on the world stage. But I'm talking about when we're trying to push a message and what we run on, no one gives a fuck about foreign relations as much as they do about domestic issues. Like, it's just a numbers game. Like, if you ask what people vote on, it's affordability, it's inflation, it's gas prices, it's Medicare, it's all these issues. I think foreign policy is like way down on the list, just in general. But I want to hear from Rowan. I want to get her back in on this a little bit before we get too far away. What are your thoughts on the Hasan viewers? Do they vote? Do they not?
I was just starting to try and look it up. It looks like I'm trying to find good numbers, but it looks like the community does skew male. Early adult years, 25 to 29 range. I don't know how accurate that is. That's from Streams charts.
Don't.
But
Yeah, that's
no. Oh, okay, yeah. So I mean,
but even if it did, I would guess still he's probably better on the ratio than others, even if he's still male because he's a streamer.
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, the general vibe that I get from Hasan and his community is kind of like the Redditor vibe. I don't know.
You
just
are
like
correct,
this,
ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this more further to the left, and it's like the kind of tropes that you hear, like, oh, did you know that a Democrat is actually a right wing conservative in any other country in the world? And it's like, well, that's really not true. Like, come on. I just don't get the sense that they are politically activated, because they spend a lot of time complaining, and I have not seen them spend much time actually trying to build coalitions. You can't win an election on an island. You can't win by alienating, the people toward the center, right? You can't win without the moderates, right? And there are a lot of people who aren't very politically activated, and if you give them, a dipshit like Trump, or someone who is on record, even if it's maybe a little bit misquoted or out of context or whatever, saying that like America deserved 9/11, I mean, that's just a bad look. And then he goes on, on a podcast with Favreau, who is trying so hard to guide him, like, Hasan, say the good thing, like, I'm giving you an out, like, say something to like make you look better, and he just still can't do it. I would vote for Hamas over Israel. That doesn't win people, like, I mean, he has a lot of rhetoric, but I don't think he's good at using it for political gain. I think he's good at using it for reactions.
Yes.
No,
he's
I want to
a
give him
good
his
streamer.
flowers here, just real quick. I want to give him his flowers.
He's a good streamer.
He's great at self-promotion. He's one of the best I've ever seen at getting himself out there. I don't know if it's him or his team or whatever,
It's the team.
but he is the
team.
best I've ever seen at getting himself out there. I don't think it translates to political
So the
action.
two
Not
things
really.
that I found that are proxy stats, and this would depend on kind of like his again more female-oriented audience that again comes from maybe short form on Instagram and TikTok being activated, but also then we can go to the streamer audience. This is a 2020 Pew survey of network TV and print readers. The amount who say that they always vote, so again, this is a proxy stat, 74 and 73% respectively. Of people who seek out news websites and apps, 59%. Of people who mostly get it through social media, including streaming, 47%. So you have this like when you get from network TV viewer, I think we like underrate how much these people are just like more normal citizens who think voting is like part of their obligation, versus even a Hasan viewer as a comparison, but like maybe less so than let's say a Asmongold viewer are politically disaffected and decide to like sit at home during election day. And then related, there's this other stat. It's right here. Hold on. Women just vote so much more than men. Young men 18 to 34 is the lowest propensity voting demographic, which again is a streaming audience. So again, depending on like how much his audience is like female 18 to 34, which I think it is based on TikTok and Instagram, I do think he's going to have, but by the way, they kind of casually probably already will vote directionally with where he is. It's not like he needs to radicalize him that much unless we get a primary where we have a very progressive candidate versus a liberal. We haven't seen this yet because he wasn't this active and popular for Bernie versus Hillary. And obviously with the Biden situation is kind of different. So I don't think we've actually seen him try to have to activate his audience this way. And obviously he's not done a good job so far fundraising, but if his demographics are true, he will actually drive votes at a higher rate than everyone
Again, I think we're reaching with those because again, which 18 to 34-year-old women are watching him because they, again, while yes, you might say that people who watch XQC, right, are mostly male, mostly don't vote because they're not really political streamers. I think we'd need more information to make any claim. That's why I'm not making a claim that they
I'm
don't.
more of a
right. I don't think there's
you,
information to make any claim.
Anyway,
Anyway,
the
last
first time
thing
we get the crosstabs on this, by the way, this will be the most interesting thing. If we can get exit pollers, and this probably has, I don't know if we can do it in times for midterms, but to ask which streamers people watch, I want to know.
I think the most common answer is like, what? You'll get like streamers.
That will be
the
top
streamers.
answer for sure.
But anyway, let's give it to single player Carl for one last question before we let you go.
So, I didn't even get to ask the question because
ask your question then. Ask your question that you're gonna ask, man.
Hey man, I don't know what to tell him. Like honk honk on the mic. But my question to you: do you think that it would be viable that a part of the hardline question of when a person decides to go too far in their political advocacy, and they do something like, oh, I don't know, stream the firearm plans for an assassination weapon directly at a sitting member of Congress? You know what I'm talking about? Wick?
Vaguely. Elaborate.
When he decided to tweet the assassination gun that was also responsible for the assassin.
I know what you're talking about.
So, on situations when streamers decide to do things like that, I have a proposition of a way that you can solve this. Do you happen to be paying attention to the TikTok girl case on Olivia Henderson, the woman who reported a man on DoorDash? Okay, simple answer, simple breakdown. She was a DoorDasher. She pushed open the door of a person who said,
now I know what you're talking about. I haven't followed the case, but I know. But
I have. Yeah. Don't worry. I have. So, she is a DoorDasher. She's working on call. She gets a DoorDash for food. The client said to leave the things at the door. She goes up to the door, pushes the door open. He is knocked out. He is physically exposed, but the door was not let open as in, oh, I was trying to get her to look at my genitalia. She takes photos of him. She then complains on the internet and goes to TikTok saying, help, help, I'm the victim, I'm the victim. In direct response as a part of their policies, DoorDash deactivates her account and bans his account, and then immediately calls the police to begin their investigation. She has already created a narrative destroying him on the internet. He goes completely quiet because he is working with the police. She then tries to rake in all the views, saying that she's been victimized by TikTok and by DoorDash because they're restricting her ability to tell her story. Lo and behold, she's committed 2 felonies and is now indicted on those 2 felonies in the state of New York City. One was on the count of distribution of she basically created revenge porn, 1. And 2, the dissemination of that revenge porn to harass and impose his character. They investigate, they find her on the charges, they have brought her to court. So, my question to you is, do you think that in the streamer world, it should be possible that platforms start levying a permanent platform ban that is then supported by the government? The kind that is, this person they've gone to YouTube court. They're doing something involving DMCA. Things like copyright claims. Okay. They're doing something with copyright claims, something with the RIAA copyright claims to the music industry. The kinds that she's going through right now with being indicted as a felon, having used the internet as a way to skip the actual court of law and go into the court of opinions, and that you can create a law that says this YouTuber cannot make content whatsoever in any format ever. They're banned from the internet for X amount of years.
I think that like a cross-platform ban are you talking about? So if they do something on YouTube, that they also get banned from Kick, Twitch, all that?
Yes, they're banned on the internet.
I don't know about
This is
that.
something that gets
I worry that it would be misused by bad actors to
So do I.
censor information that should not be censored. I don't know. I'd have to think a lot more about it. What are your thoughts, Rebecca? Oh, also, thank you for the $20. RebeccaRowan for $20. Thank you. Says, no one has yelled at me yet, and I'm devastated over it. Thank you for that.
I am devastated over it.
I mean, if you want me to talk, I'm playing.
Go ahead, Rebecca, please.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Like on the one hand, part of me would love to see, if you're on the internet, you need to have your ID, and if you're going to talk shit, it's not going to be behind a private account. You like everything you say it can be linked to you. I don't like that from a privacy perspective. I like a free and open internet. Sometimes I like that idea of like being able to have a little more regulation and control broadly, but I don't think that it can actually work in practice. I don't think that you can do this kind of like regulation where you ban someone on all streaming platforms, because then you have to regulate what's a streaming platform. And I mean, I guess we did that with broadcast television. So I guess you could bring similar rules to the internet, but the inherently decentralized role of the internet just makes that a lot more difficult. And as we've seen, I mentioned earlier, you get these douchebags like Elon Musk who buy a social media platform and turn it into their own little echo chamber. I mean, you run the risk of that happening. So I don't know. I think you just need so many structural reforms and changes to prevent those bad actors in the first place.
When it comes to this specific case that you mentioned, like it sounds like she's gonna face criminal penalties. So I think that is what should happen. The criminal penalties for distributing revenge porn or whatever they're fucking charging her with. If she's guilty of it, I don't know if she is or not. If she's guilty of it, they should charge her with that and do that. That's what should happen.
Well, I bring this up because they already have this in place. It's already been done. It's already been done at least 100 times in different cases. The most recent example was, I'm trying to pull up the TikTok example because it was proliferated all across TikTok, in fact. A woman who lied about being hit in the face with a brick. She's been banned off social media for 5 years pending basically house arrest parole. If she goes on at all during that time period of the ban, she will have her ability to go on the internet
honestly, she's probably healthier than all of us at this point. Okay.
Probably.
I'm just saying.
Can you imagine 5 years without Twitter? Oh my god.
Yeah, like it is.
Well, see, the way that they're doing it, you got to keep it like this. The way that they're doing it is that you already carve out all the things you need to worry about, right? Okay. Parents don't let their children go on the internet without using the parental guidelines. The government is not trying to tell you, listen, I need to see your face so that you can go jack off on Pornhub. We're talking about this person is an active platform creator. They go onto events. They are regulated at businesses. They go onto debates. They go onto monk debates. They go onto Wix Stage and give them money on this platform. They go onto places and they are a structured individual. We're not talking about somebody with an ultra ego Vegeta profile picture who called a sitting member of the House of Representatives or the Senate a dumb wank on the internet and now he wants to pull his identification. We're talking about people who go onto a stage and they are known. They are a known figure. They have created a way to get these influencers off the platform. They have already used it. In that world, in our streamer world, where influencers can do things that create the ability to then get views on their streams. When a person does something like they tweet the assassination plans for a weapon towards a sitting figure, or they dog whistle, or they use a shibboleth to signal when it's okay to bash Jews and when it's not okay to bash Jews. When they do these things on a wide platform, can you be able to then bring that up as a point of purchase in a conversation in a courtroom and then push for that to be something that's like, oh, Hasan Piker has now been made disaffected during the 2028 voting races.
I don't know about this. I don't know about this. This is something that I think can go really wrong really quickly. I think that if this is to happen, there has to be some really strict, it has to occur on the internet. It has to. I don't know. I'm very skeptical. But Carl, thank you for
Mhm.
calling in, man. We do got to
You're
go
welcome.
soon, so I'm going to let you go. But I
That's no
love you,
problem.
buddy. And we'll have
No
you on
problem.
again, and we can maybe to debate this very topic, okay? So I'll talk to you later, okay? See you.
We'll see. No problem. Goodbye.
Okay, last guy, and then we're gonna end up, unless I get like $100 or something. Okay. What do you got, North?
All right, here we are. Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah. What's up?
I was just wondering, as someone who can't grow a beard, what is like the ideal strategy for beard growth?
I couldn't tell you, as someone who's never had a problem growing a beard. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
skill issue, buddy.
I'm
Get better
getting
genes.
mogged
I
by
don't know.
Wick right now.
Um,
Jesus.
yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, that's basically my main question is about beard growth. I thought the DGG, the digital ground game thing was pretty cool.
Cool.
I listened to a little bit of it.
What was your favorite
Um,
part?
the sorting of what are the tier list that was
The
interesting.
Trump administration event tier list. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, because that sort of highlighted Jesus Christ. We're not even 2 years into the administration. And all of this shit has happened. Every single like day, it's just something new. It never stops ever. I want to share an insight as well that
Share your
I've
insights.
had
Yeah, go ahead.
about you specifically.
About me
I've been thinking about like,
specifically, okay.
how
I'm
your
interested,
role
though. Go
in
ahead.
what I like to call like this burgeoning liberal sphere.
Go ahead.
I've been thinking a lot about building like media pipelines and like, because I feel like the center right kind of lacks what the liberals and like the MAGA people have. There's no like center right pipeline for you to become a creator and you to be like interact with the community and have like people defend you and all that. I feel like among the liberals, there's something that's burgeoning here, and I think one of the reasons why it's burgeoning is because of you. And what I mean by that is your platform is very accessible for like new people to be interactive with. And I think that's what's allowing, I guess, the liberals to like grow, is that they're so receptive to
Here,
like
let me
new
sit
talent
back while
like
you
Adam
verbally tell
Mockler
me.
and
Go
all
ahead.
that. And yeah. I just thought that was interesting, and it was something that I would wish to emulate for like the center right.
I hope you can.
Well, not me personally. I want to convince someone else to do it because fuck trying to moderate people.
I understand.
Jesus Christ.
I understand. Well, look,
I feel like
it's
Counterpoints is trying to do something like that, right?
Well, Counterpoints is I feel like he's kind of like me, in which he wants to like say his opinion and he doesn't want to like moderate. What I mean is we need like someone on the center right that can gather people who want to make content and want to be part of like the debate sphere and be able to like host these people, give like the jumping off platform. The problem is if you're on the right and you want to do something like this, where do you go? You go to Andrew Wilson, and it's terrible. It's completely terrible.
I think that one of the things that I will always tell people, if they want something to happen, be the change you want to see in your world. You don't have to always moderate, but you can provide a platform for others, like-minded figures, to talk with you about things. One of the things I've been trying to do lately, and something I'm much more intentional about, is, and you saw this in yesterday's show, and you'll see this again in Thursday's show, is I want to bring on like-minded people. So instead of having a debate precisely, we're going to have a conversation about how we as liberals can address the various issues. This will lead to debate. We will have disagreements. There will be discussions, right? There will be differences. But I'm experimenting with it and seeing how my audience and how other people enjoy that kind of content. It's yet to be seen. It's kind of new. But even from the stance of, hey, if you want to do this, I would suggest opening up your channel, saying, hey, I want to bring in as many center-right people as I can. We're going to have an open call-ins for center-right individuals who want to talk about how center-right people can be more involved in the discourse. Just that in of itself is a perfect starting point. And I believe in you, You have charisma. You have ability. You have bravery. You can do it, buddy. I believe in you. Okay.
Don't. I appreciate your advice. There's already things happening in the background that I'm not allowed to talk about right
You're
now.
not allowed to talk about it. Sounds
Yes.
crazy. Okay. But
Yeah,
I'm
there
gonna let
there
you
is
go,
things
buddy.
happening.
I love you. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I hope you have a good stream.
I will. Okay. That doesn't count as the last question because that was too gratuitous, I guess. No, that's not the right word. $10 from No Aeon says BRICS is on the rise. Nearly every U.S. ally is alienated. For $40 trillion in debt. How possible is it for America to avoid collapse and give itself the soft landing Britain has as its empire ended? I think that we are declining under Trump, but if you want to say we're collapsing, boy, oh boy, you're in for, like, they've been saying the American empire is going to be collapsing for 100+ years. It's not
I
happened
think
yet.
we're too big to fail.
Yeah, we're far more resilient than I think a lot of people give us credit for, and the populists would say that we are. So while we may be waning a little bit on our influence on the world stage because bad decisions by bad leaders, I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon. So yeah. Okay. Okay, buddy. You were waiting so patiently. I'm going to give you that opportunity. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I have two things to say to you. One is a question. With dealing with the mega Trumpian delusionists, their delusions that they hold, what do you think is the best way to break them out of it?
That's very broad, and it's impossible to tell you a generic strategy because there's different levels. I would say the best way to persuade anyone across the board is it has to be in real life. You have to have a relationship with them, that they trust you. And then it takes a long time, years in some cases. And you just have to keep being there. You have to keep being honest with them, and you have to keep working with them. It's not a sexy answer, but that's how persuasion works.
Yeah, hard work is never sexy. It does
not.
require hard work. Also, secondly, why the fuck did you shave your beard?
For $20,000 in 20 minutes, bitch. Okay. That's why I did it. For cold, fucking hard cash. It went to a charity, or not a charity, but it went to Digital Ground Game and not me. But I ain't doing that shit for free. Okay. 20,000 USD in 20 minutes. That's how much we raised during my second segment, okay? They had stalled out, right? They had stalled out. Donations were slowing down. They were only getting like 2,000 or 3,000 a segment, and they were like, oh man, this is slowing down. We're not going to reach our final goal. And it was Wick that came in there and offered up the final sacrifice, okay? The ultimate, some would say, the ultimate sacrifice in order for...
You're like the wick of a candle. You like lit things up.
Yeah,
that's what it's called,
the
right?
candle in the wind. We burn brightly, okay, to shine the light that others might follow, but we will eventually melt ourselves down. My beard died so that democracy might live, okay? Anyway, Shirveen, I'm going to let you go, and we're going to get outros for Rebecca here. But I appreciate
Thanks
you
for
coming
having
on.
me. Nice to
feel
meet
free
you,
to call
Rebecca.
on anytime.
Hey,
Maybe
nice to
we'll
meet
set
you,
up a
Shirveen.
debate. Shirveen, actually, okay. Shirveen, we'll talk later, but add me as a friend. We'll DM each other, and we'll have a discussion. Okay, but bye.
That sounds good.
Rebecca. Did you have fun?
Wick, I did. Like I said, I didn't get yelled at, which is a little bit disappointing. I thought for sure this would be the time, but no, I had a great time. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Where can people find you if they want to find you? And do you have any final words for my audience? Go ahead.
Yeah, you can find me Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at the RebeccaRowan. That's where I shitpost and am starting to do more video content. I write at fortherepublic.com. If you are interested in reading it all, I do write articles. I'm trying to write a little more often, but I am in the middle of launching my own startup at this point. So I'm like doing like 4 jobs at once. So it's there's a lot going on, but no, I really appreciate you having me on. I have been wanting to kind of like get more into the online political sphere and do more like, I don't know, just conversations and debates and just kind of join this more liberal cohort that's kind of trying to take our country back. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and I'd love to come back sometime.
Of course. Well, thank you for being here, and we're gonna let you go and see you later. Okay, buddy?
All right. See ya. Thanks, Wick. Bye.
Gang, if you like her, if you want to hear more of what she has to say, link is in my YouTube description. She spent time to talk with us. Give her a follow, give her a subscribe, all that shit, okay? And if you like my content and you want to help me out, right? If you want to support the channel, and we do like support, it does help, right? Send me a super chat. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Remember, there you go, buddies. Okay, what do we got coming up? So tomorrow I'm not going to be streaming unless something either super awesome or super horrible happens. I hope neither. Well, maybe super awesome would be great, but you know. Thursday, we're going to be having on Soypill, Lilith Lovett, Hunter Kozak, and we're going to talk about how to make liberalism sexy again, okay? How can we lib-pill the populace? And it's part of this experimental stuff, okay? So if you like that kind of conversation rather than the debate, blood sport shit, let me know by paying me, right? Because I will be incentivized to have different conversations based on how much money I make. And if you want those kinds of conversations, you have to reward those conversations, okay? Good? Awesome? Yes? Wonderful. I think that's it. Anyone else got anything else? Are we good? Are we set? Are we done? Chin up. It's not that bad. And if it is, it'll get better. I will talk to you guys later.